too, or what is it? Is it Wrestle Vibes or Wrestle Wave? What is it?
I got Wrestle Vibes. I got Real Take Sports, Real Take Wrestling. We're doing it. We're doing it live.
It's a hot ass expansion. You know what else is pretty hot? That ending to WWE Raw tonight was obviously an eventful episode. So just like true WrestleMania week fashion, we're gonna have an off the cuff discussion on pretty much everything that happened tonight. But also there was some news that dropped during WWE Raw, which I'm sure we'll get to that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support our channels, if you guys want to directly support Omer and Real Take Wrestling on his channel while he's live, you could drop him a super chat. He will read it on the stream and answer your questions. If you want to support the Angle Show, you could drop a super chat on this channel and we will answer your questions as well. But the biggest way to support the channel, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to help the channels, click that like button, comment, chat, like share this shit around with everybody. Because that's always a big thing.
Hell yeah.
With that being said, I got to ask you, overall thoughts on Raw tonight. Just hit me.
It was an average go home show for a pay-per-view. Outside of the Rock and Bloodline stuff, obviously. Yeah. But I mean, outside of that, it was Raw. Like, and I'm not trying to say that in a bad way. Like, if I was gonna say it in a bad way, I'd be like, it was Raw, But I thought there was some good on this show. I think, honestly, like that Ricochet match was off the hook. I think they're really doing a good job of setting him up ahead of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Also thought that it was Pat McAfee was the fun little guy there doing the whole Prince Puma reference. Shout out to him. But yeah, I thought it was a fine episode. Like easier watch for Raw than normal. Not as easy as last week. Last week was like historically easy for me.
Yeah.
But fun show.
It's what I'm looking for too is like I think there's a lot of people they just want something that's like a spectacle every week. And I don't watch wrestling for that. It's like I want to just keep watching the storylines progress. And then sometimes you get sprinkled in some really good matches. And tonight I felt like, okay, it was really cool. You're starting to keep the stories progressing. You're getting us pretty excited, obviously, for WrestleMania. But it is very clear if you're watching WWE right now, the big thing is the Bloodline, which is obviously how Raw ended tonight. Now, before we could get to the ending, we have to start off with the beginning because WWE Raw was, in fact, first hour commercial free. By the way, I hate this bullshit with commercial free because it was a 40-minute talking segment. And then right after it's like a million commercials happen anyways, right? Typical television wrestling.
What are you talking about? This was a gift from our Lord and Savior, Nick Khan and Triple H. Like they gave us a commercial free edition of Raw for the first hour. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's totally
obviously
trying to fit the rest of the commercials over the rest of the 2 hours, but hey, take what we can get.
It's the Bloodline, right? And the Bloodline kicking things off in The Rock and Roman Reigns comes out. And, I really want to get your opinion on this too, because I said the other day, people may not be realizing what is truly happening here, but WWE is doing a can they coexist storyline without them screaming it on commentary 20 times. If you pay attention to the small details, right? The Bloodline and Roman Reigns saying, acknowledge me, and everybody's got their ones up, right? The Rock isn't doing that. And then if you look at the end of Raw tonight, when Roman and The Rock stand tall, Roman's on the right side with the WWE Undisputed Championship, and on the left side, The Rock has the Nightmare belt, which I think that signifies Cody finishing the story. I do. And I hate that I might be giving WWE too much credit here. This was always the plan. The Rock was always the adversity that I don't think I genuinely believe this. Please, like, I know I feel like you're itching to say something, but I genuinely just think that WWE has known that this is going to make Cody the biggest babyface ever. Like, it's just going to cement it. How bad do you want to see The Rock on TV every week at this point? Like, everything he's doing is stellar, right? And I think, okay, The Rock and Roman's going to be a massive feud. But I just saw Cody Rhodes get whipped to fucking shreds. Like it was almost like MJF doing it, but it was The Rock. I like that. I like that a lot too, by the way. But
that was
I
great.
see this and I'm thinking like, oh shit. You know what? The Rock hates Cody Rhodes. I do believe that. The Rock, in my opinion, also hates Roman Reigns. But who does The Rock think is an easier person to go against for the championship? Right? Cody.
Yeah, that certainly could be possible. I think that it's weird because, like, for me, like, I mean, I don't think that this was the plan from the beginning. I think they lucked into some electricity, like, over the last few weeks. But at the same time, they took full advantage of it in the best possible way, because now there's so many ways you could go down. There's so many routes you could go down over the next few weeks, months, for like after WrestleMania, and all of them are great. Because, and in my perfect world, Ango, what I want to see is I want to see a world where The Rock, does what he's going to do at WrestleMania. Cody finishes the story, but whatever The Rock does, whether it's helping Cody or costing Roman, it's not necessarily because he likes Cody.
Yes.
Because to me, that's a dream match down the line.
Oh,
like there's so much money in that. Like by the end of that segment last week on Raw, none of us wanted to see Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania. We wanted to see Rock versus Cody at WrestleMania. Like, and that's the best part about wrestling, because you can manipulate our emotions like in that moment to be like, just give it to us right now, right? So that's my hope, is that WWE find a way to leave all these doors open still at WrestleMania. Like, you're going to do Rock versus Roman. We know that. That's great. But, man, Rock versus Cody, with that beatdown playing in a video package, like with all that history, like there's a lot to be done there as well.
I love what you're saying, too, because like I look at SummerSlam as a great example. But then I also kind of got to thinking, WWE announced that later this year, they are coming back with Clash at the Castle. And if you look at the logo, the color scheme and everything actually makes me think Scotland. And I'm like, oh, Drew McIntyre, the Scottish psychopath, CM Punk. Like, I think it's either June 15th or July 15th. I can't remember the exact date, but it was one of those 2 months. So I see this announcement and then I'm thinking like, stadium show maybe? We'll find out tomorrow where the location is. But if they're doing a stadium show and Drew McIntyre is the world heavyweight champion, then the thing that I'm about to say next doesn't apply. But if it's not in Scotland and it's somewhere in the UK, then shit, maybe Rock versus Cody. International show, stadium show, outside of the United States. Like it's very possible. And then I also think, well, shit, SummerSlam in Ohio, right? In Cleveland. And I'm thinking Rock versus Cody in Cleveland. But what I'm trying to say is, I think a lot of people are like, they kind of get turned off with this Bloodline storyline and they're like, it's been going on too long. The thing is, I don't want the Bloodline storyline to end. I don't want this to be over with. I love everything that's happening here. I just want Cody to get the belt so we can move on the right way. And I like that, the idea of Cody and Rock is huge. And then you have Rock and Roman next year, and how do you get there? And one of the things I've been fantasy booking a lot recently, which we could talk about this. Let's talk about this because it has implications for WrestleMania. So let's just kind of get into it.
Let's do it.
Tonight we had Bloodline rules, Solo Sikoa versus Seth Rollins. Now, we know if Rock and Roman beat Cody and Seth, then the match on Sunday night will be Bloodline rules. And I'm thinking, okay, we've heard some rumors of some legends and some big names coming back. And then obviously they can help Cody. Cool. I don't want to talk about that. But what I'm thinking is they are going to need to figure out the next variation of the Bloodline storyline. So Zilla Fatu, Jacob Fatu, maybe Tama Tonga. And then I'm thinking like, does Roman Reigns as a babyface bring back the Usos? So then Paul Heyman turns on Roman and The Rock, Solo Sikoa, and maybe Tama Tonga or Jacob Fatu or, someone, right? That's like the Bloodline heels versus the Bloodline baby faces. Like
Bloodline Civil War. Ooh.
See what I'm saying?
I like that.
So now let me ask you, right? We know the like Sunday we have the Bloodline rules potentially happening.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Cody finishes the story and then immediately sticks with Roman as the next threat? Or do you think Cody would finish the story and immediately move on to The Rock? Because you got to remember, if The Rock and Roman is the plan for WrestleMania 41, you have a year to get there. When do you necessarily plant that seed?
All good questions. So what I want to see is, I would love to see the feud immediately after Mania be Cody Rhodes versus The Rock, because I want it now. I'll be so honest with you.
Yeah.
But like, I'm also looking at, like, what's being said on TV and all that kinds of, like, right now they're playing it up as if Roman loses, he's at least gonna go away for a while. Like, McAfee said he's done, but he's probably gonna go away for a while. With The Rock, it's one of those things of, I think you're right, he will probably only come around if it's like a big show, like a Clash at the Castle, like potentially SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, maybe. My hope is they have something lined up that's big for Cody. I just don't think it's going to be either Roman or The Rock. I could see them putting him in the feud with, like, and I'm not saying I want this, but I could see them putting him in a feud with, like, LA Knight, like, off the bat, which could be fun. Like, there could be some fun stuff there. But I'm also like, man, what you really don't want to do, and this is something that WWE has, like, I feel like, gotten into a bad habit of, like, when they have these big moments, like, think Daniel Bryan, when he won the belt at Mania 30, think, like, Cena when he won the belt at 21, like, it's always like the next feud is, like, kind of underwhelming. Like, Cena did the thing where he was still doing Bradshaw for 2 pay-per-views, and then we had Bryan wrestle Kane, which they did the same thing with Redacted after Mania 20. Like they and it's not the same regime, so I'm gonna give Triple H a little bit of wiggle room here. But I just hope it's something that people want to see. I think LA Knight's that kind of guy. Like, people want to see him wrestle for the world title. A lot of people don't want to see him lose for the world title. But that's a whole separate story.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, whatever Cody does, though, they have to find a way to make it feel special, because what you don't want is to be in a situation where you bring him down a peg after Mania, after his biggest moment, because there are a lot of people saying he should have won last year. Why didn't he win last year? He's colder than he was last year. So
do you agree with that, though? Do you think he is colder than last year? Because I don't agree with that.
He is colder for me. I think, sorry.
I was just going to ask, is it a booking thing, or is it just him as, like, a wrestler performer? Like, he's just not as exciting to you anymore?
I think it's a little bit of both. Look, what they've done over the past, like, 3, 4, or 5 weeks has been amazing. Like, epic storytelling. The issue is, for me, I watch the show every week. So I've been watching for the past year. And my issue is that the Cody Rhodes character has done little to no, like, evolution or change over the past calendar year. And I get it. It's Mania season. It's big. Like it's like, all right, let's go. Gung ho. Like, we're ready for Mania. But at the same time, I'm sitting here like, but what about, like, everything over the past year? Because the stuff with Brock didn't hit for me. Like, it just never hit for me. I never understood why that was happening. The SummerSlam match was good, but, like, other than that, I wasn't a fan. Like, the Nakamura stuff was what it was. He did War Games, Daddy. Okay, great. Cody did War Games. Check. I just feel like they could have done more the way I wanted it, because you and I both agreed last year on this.
Yeah.
We both wanted Cody to lose at Mania so that they could build him back up into being a bigger and better star. I just don't think in the time between Mania last year and this year they did that.
So I'm glad you brought up the thing from last year, because that is true. But also, one thing I do think that is fascinating, right? And this is just me as far as, like, being a Cody fan, right? Watching Cody leave WWE and go to TNA and go to ROH and go to Japan and go to AEW and do all of these things. I see him in WWE in that first year, and I'm like, wow, this guy is just far larger than you could have imagined. And perception-wise, I feel like he is way bigger this year than he was last year. I don't think that comes from Cody being booked that way. I think it comes from Cody, the way he presents himself and the way he does things outside of the ring as well. So when you see he's in the crowd and says, "I'll be your best man," or, you know, he's taking pictures with the kids, like he has really assumed that role. But I do agree in certain ways, like in the booking, like it's strong booking. Like I enjoyed the Shinsuke thing. I enjoyed the Brock Lesnar feud because again, it's just, what did I say last year? He needs to go through adversity. He doesn't need everything to be super crazy. He needs to get through these blocks to get to the bloodline. But then you mentioned it, you said in the last 5 weeks, and then now wow, this is the adversity that maybe he should have been facing all year. Brock should have been a lot worse on him. Shinsuke should have been a lot worse on him. He should have gone through hell to the point where now he gets to WrestleMania and he could barely walk. That's literally the type of adversity, right? So it's not like I don't necessarily disagree with you. I slightly do, and I see both sides to it. But what I want to say is this. With Cody Rhodes, the crowd loves him. Tonight, when he walks out to that ring and he's trying to make that save, keep in mind, earlier in the night, it said that he's not cleared to be there, right? Medically cleared. WWE loves the medically cleared thing. But, you know, when he's out there, man, and he comes out, the crowd erupts. Let's just call it what it is. They love him. The fans love him. Mm-hmm. But I do see that now this is where WWE really, really can't mess up. Like, you have to get this right. Because if you have Cody lose 2 years in a row, you are effectively burying him. You are. And I don't use that term often, but I do think in a way you're kind of burying him. You're making it very hard for him. You're digging him in the dirt and you're making it very hard for him to get out. Can Cody Rhodes do it? Yes, I think Cody Rhodes absolutely can. But at the same time, too, the fans want it. Listen to the crowd. You know, and part of that too is, you know, The Rock and Roman come out in the beginning and the fans love them, obviously.
Yeah.
But when Cody comes out, it's like, okay, this is the baby face. Like, we're going to support this guy. And like, people want him. And I think the worst thing that WWE could do at this stage is reject what the fans want, because you will have another situation like Daniel Bryan. Even worse now than ever. And the main reason for that is because we talked about this and we're talking about it now, but it's like the feud after the babyface chase, it's always great. And then right after things fall apart. Now, I did do a video on more Ango, so I will address this because you said LA Knight. LA Knight and Cody's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. I don't see why it would make sense. But I would say maybe Randy Orton turning heel, right? And Randy Orton and Cody obviously could have a good story. We got to see what happens with Karrion Kross and the Bobby Lashley feud. Because if you want a credible heel that could lose, Karrion Kross has a good track record of losing to people and changing them people. And then you got to think, if Cody were to have a feud with The Rock, right? Mm-hmm. Well, do you want Cody to be the soft babyface, or do you want him to, yes, he beat Karrion Kross, but now Karrion Kross is turning Cody Rhodes truly into Homelander, right? Like, these are like the small things. So there is stuff for Cody to do after the belt, but I'm afraid, I'm not going to lie, this Bloodline versus Cody and the Avengers thing is like, it is truly cinema. What I saw tonight makes me itch for Cody to win the belt. It does. And it also makes me itch for Seth Rollins to have an amazing match on both nights, because both of these guys deserve it. But the storyline is not about either one of them at this point. It is truly about The Rock and Roman Reigns.
It is, isn't it? I guess, I mean, we'll get to the Karrion Kross thing in a second. But first, I do want to, since you brought up Rollins, right? Do you think this feud has hurt the world title?
No, not at all.
You don't think so?
Actually, it made me more excited for the world title.
No. I'm not talking about the match. The match is like, I love the match. Like,
the booking though. The booking has made me more excited for the world championship.
Right, but you don't see it at all as Roman. Like you don't see it at all as like the world championship that Rollins holds is kind of overshadowed. Like, because it's playing fourth. It's not.
No. See, the belt is not being overshadowed. The person that's holding it is completely destroyed mentally, because he's not focused on his championship. He grinded so hard to get that belt, and he was the workhorse champion, and now he's playing Cody's little bitch. And here's the thing. People are saying, well, does it make the world title look worse? No. It's going to make actually for a really good storyline post Seth Rollins. We know Seth Rollins needs to eventually rebrand, whether it's the architect or whatever. He needs to do something different from this character, right? Seth is not focused on this belt like he was before. And I think that's his demise. He got so lost in this whole bloodline thing. So when people talk about the world championship, right? And they talk about A title, B title, I don't see that. There's a brand split. One's for Raw, one's for SmackDown. I use a little bit of common sense here. One belt is hardly defended. One belt is defended too often. The person that works so hard to defend that belt so often and win every single time, he worked so incredibly hard. He is now looking at something without keeping his eye on the prize that actually matters. That's Seth Rollins' mistake. He's an idiot because Seth Rollins in kayfabe is not paying attention to that. Had Seth Rollins paid attention to that more, right? Then a person with common sense would be like, I value my championship belt more than this. Right? But he doesn't. Yeah. He's basically saying, I value this feud more than my world championship. Logically speaking, when he drops that belt, that makes sense for Drew to be like, and they've kind of brought it up on TV too, but it makes sense for Drew to be the guy who, when he wins the world championship, or Damian Priest, it's going to be like, obviously Seth will probably get a rematch at some point, that type of thing. But part of that storytelling, WWE has to include the fact, hey, like, you're not focused anymore. You're not who you are. That causes Seth to take some time off and then come back and reconstruct his character. But I think that's a big thing. I don't think the world championship has been defended quite often. What I would actually say is they need to replicate with Cody. Like, Cody needs to be the workhorse champion on SmackDown. He needs to be just having regular bangers on Friday nights if he finishes the title, if he finishes the story, just like Seth Rollins was doing on Raw.
Okay. I mean, I'll be honest, I disagree. I just think the way that we are told as fans when we watch this show, like the way that Roman is presented and the way that Rollins is presented, they're never going to be presented in equal light. I know that. But it's just like, it's not even close. Like it is just like Roman and his belt are infinitely more important than what's going on with Rollins. Because with and that's fine, and it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But my point there is, like, why put him in this feud, right? I just feel like you could have done a similar thing with Jey Uso. And, like, I understand they want to do the brother versus brother match. I get that. All good. They could have done that still. They could have done it on the next night. I just think, like, Jey would have been a better person to put in this, because then it truly would have been like a bloodline thing.
Like, you know what's interesting? Not to cut you off, but I just want to. How do you feel about talent working both nights? Because I actually don't like that, to be honest.
Look, I did not like it when MJF and Adam Cole did it in one night. I'm not a fan of it now. I've spoken about that. It's what they're doing. Like nothing you or I could do about it. But I would not want to risk the main event of WrestleMania the next night. That'd be crazy. But that match is going to be the most spectacle to have ever spectacle. Like
2 hour long entrances.
Half of it is going to be the entrances. Then the rest, like 40% of it is going to be like them just staring at each other and like getting those, like, those shots in for WWE.com. And then like 10% headlock, big move, headlock, big move.
Yeah. It's it is going to be overbooked. It's going to be the most overbooked match in WWE history,
as it should be,
and it should be, right. But I do want to kind of circle back to the point of you talking about the championship, right?
Yeah,
Roman has become a very good champion in the sense of, like, when you think of a world champion in wrestling, whether people want to admit this or not, he has the aura. With that belt, he walks out. He's got the look. He's got the crowd in the palm of his hands. Acknowledge me. Like, he has the aura of a champion. And the thing is, if he were to do it every single time, like a wrestling match every single week, it would just be devalued. He would not have that aura that he obviously has now. And the thing that I like about Cody going after Roman and the title, actually, like, now it means more than the title, to be honest. Like, at this point, he's getting his ass beat on Raw 2 weeks in a row. Like, He's really going through it right now because of this. All because he had to slap The Rock at the WrestleMania kickoff event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dumbass. Cody's a dumbass. But you see this, right? And you're like, okay, now it's beyond the title. So when Cody gets the belt, I think he gets the belt. When he gets the belt, I think him and Seth or him and Drew, whoever's holding those 2 world titles, I think it's going to be a lot more leverage. The only reason why I think Roman's belt feels more important is because the tribal chief, bro, it's the gimmick. Literally God mode. Like, there's a reason why people say that he has reached that point. But even what's actually funnier though, let me ask you, would Rock and Roman need to truly have the belt on the line? Because I don't know if we talked about this last year, but I never believed for like the last 4 years, I never believed they needed it.
Nope, they still don't. Like this is a family feud. Pardon the pun.
Doesn't that make the WWE Undisputed Championship look worse though?
No. Because there's a lot of feuds that don't need a belt to work, right? Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy, they need a belt to work. Like I think like when I say that, I think that the world title, Seth Rollins is. I have to be very specific when I talk about this, but whenever I say like Rollins' title like feels like undervalued in this feud, it's just because you have a world champion, and this is the reason you have a brand split, right? Yeah. So that you can at least like keep like the veil of like this guy on this show is the most important guy or one of the more important guys, right? Yeah. But like in this feud, it's just like I just never agree with putting Rollins as the world champion in this because there's nothing to really gain from it for a storyline standpoint, in my opinion, because they haven't, even if there was with the Shield stuff, they haven't called back to it. They just haven't called back to it. And if you weren't going to do that, you might as well have put Jey Uso in there. Because if you want to make it about family, make it about family, bro. We on some your Don Toretto shit. But, but excuse me for cursing. But
no, you're good. You're good. I have a censor button. I don't use it, but I do have it if we need to. You go off, right. King.
No. But like, I don't know. I just feel like for whatever reason, like it's going to work because it's WrestleMania. Like, let's be honest. Everyone's going to go crazy when Drew wins that belt. Everyone's going to go crazy when he has a little stare down with CM Punk at the commentary table. But at the same time, I'm just like, man, you could have told the story of Rollins going into this match injured anyway, distracted, all the stuff that you laid out perfectly. Yeah. But you could have had him, at least in his story, be the most important guy because realistically, like people aren't even like really like the Drew McIntyre Seth Rollins feud is like a B tier feud compared to everything because everything is a B tier feud compared to this stuff. So in my view, I never liked the pick, and maybe it's just me. Like maybe it's just the way I watch wrestling, the way I like watch these storylines transpire. I just thought that it was a mistake. And I hate to see it for Rollins too, because like this is someone who's worked their ass off so hard over the past like 3 years. He has been Mr. WWE, having great matches, carrying this company, doing everything there is to do to try to keep it afloat, to try to keep that reputation afloat amid everything that's gone on over the past few years. And whenever there's an issue, he's the guy they go to. And it just feels like this was supposed to be, his crowning run. There's been some good, there's been some meh. But it hasn't been maybe that's my fault. It hasn't been what I expected it to be. And seeing it culminate in this way for me, I'm just like, what was the point?
The only reason why I disagree with you is because I just feel like Seth has been due for a character change. And to logically put it together, the idea of him getting distracted, right? Like he's in a feud with everybody. Seth Rollins, which I do want to give WWE credit here, because this is how you knew it was truly a different regime. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people looking for a championship. And Seth has a target on his back from multiple different angles. So, and I like that because it kind of plays into him going into this match anyways. Like he is still, while he's kind of venturing off into the side quest with the Bloodline stuff, he still has to remain focused on CM Punk and Drew McIntyre and everybody else. Mm-hmm. And one thing that doesn't get talked about though is CM Punk's injury obviously caused a change. He basically said it on Ariel Helwani today that him and Seth was the plan.
Said a lot of things.
That, you know, obviously that kind of changed.
Yeah.
But also Elimination Chamber, Bronson Reed was supposed to have a world championship match against Seth. And that was a storyline that we couldn't see play out on TV because Bronson Reed, he did the vignette, right? But he never did anything after because his child was born. So it's nice to know that they have like multiple different angles for Seth before this big match. He needs to lose his belt. This is a good way to do it logically. He's just not 100% all there. And this is where I have to give WWE credit because there's so many layers to this. Like even when Seth is about to walk out tonight, right? Him and Cody are getting their ass beat. We know this, right? But even before he walks out for his match, great camera angle, by the way, but he's walking with Kathy Kelly. They're talking. And then you see the moment play out where as he's walking into the next frame of the camera, Drew McIntyre's just sitting there. And it's like, how is Seth supposed to focus on Solo Sikoa tonight when Drew is right there? And it's a subtle reminder that this stuff is also as important. It is. WWE is telling you it's important. I think the reality, and I think this is done on design.
Yeah.
But The Rock is taken away from absolutely everything and anything that's happening on TV. And that's the point. Mm-hmm. I do think that is intentional. Does it hurt Seth? I don't think so, because I think when Seth loses and he takes his break, I do think he comes back 100 times better. And honestly, if you really want, actually, you brought it up, right? The thing after Cody, you said LA Knight. Shit, dude, Seth Rollins could come back as a heel and go after Cody if you really want.
I think that's the feud. No, that for me, that would be the feud to do for SummerSlam. Like if they end up having like a brand extension or draft, whatever, like put Rollins on SmackDown and have Rollins versus Cody be like your big SummerSlam match. And I honestly wouldn't even be opposed to Seth Rollins if he does come back as a new character, being the guy to beat Cody. And like, and I'm not saying do it at SummerSlam. Don't do it that quickly yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I wouldn't be opposed to it because I feel like there would be a really cool story to tell there. Yeah. And that's a feud even too, where I wouldn't even mind for them to like, you know, Rollins wins the belt and then they like maybe like a month or two later switch it back to Cody. Like it's rare that a hot potato can work. I think that's a scenario where it could, because that feud, they have that fight forever energy, you know?
Yes, they do. Rock and Austin, right? You know, it to me, it just kind of, it could be like that. Who knew, man? Who knew this is how things would play out, obviously? And you got to factor in WrestleMania 30, 39, and WrestleMania 38.
We're old. WrestleMania 30. I remember WrestleMania 30.
But look back in the last 10 years and look at WrestleMania, and then it really starts to juice up when Cody enters and he's the surprise for Seth. And it like kind of changes things a little bit because then Seth gets 3-0'd, bro. He gets 3-0 to Cody Rhodes, and people are like, WWE would bury Cody. And Cody comes in like invincible. And then, you know, then he gets into the bloodline business and this guy's invincible. But now we're starting to see him not become invincible anymore. Now we're seeing Cody in this, you know, he's getting whipped to shit, bro. MJF style.
Yeah.
And then I keep thinking, I'm like, man, like Seth is going to be the downfall on his own. That's his fault. But I like the fact that it could play out onto TV where Seth Rollins is then at the stage like, I'm an idiot because Cody Rhodes convinced me. I mean, he probably wouldn't say anything. That would look bad. But like, you know, he'll be, if he turned heel on Cody, like, I had your back. You won the WWE championship. You didn't thank me. You didn't.
Where were you? Where were you when Drew was cheating to beat me at Mania? Where were you when he was whooping my ass? Like
exactly. I like the fact that it could play out into multiple angles, which I will say, the one thing I noticed from Raw tonight is that there is a multitude of ways to go about programming post WrestleMania. There's a lot of small things that they're showing you each week, and like Santos, and we'll talk about this stuff a little bit in a bit, but like you see the Santos and Legado del Fantasma and Judgment Day, and you're like, holy shit, this could spin off into a multitude of things. So Andrade, I do like that.
Got my boy Andrade backstage. You love that.
I love it. I do want to start reading some super chats. Because obviously, you know, we'll keep things moving. We just spent 36 minutes on talking about the Bloodline. It was basically the entire length of the Bloodline promo to kick off the show. So we'll kick things off. Sam Piboon dropping a $4.99 super chat. Will you still want Roman Reigns and The Rock to beat Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins first night at WrestleMania? So do you want the Bloodline to win night one, or do you want Cody and Seth to win? What do you think? Don't tell me your prediction. Don't tell me your prediction, but tell me what you specifically want.
I want Cody and Seth to win.
You do?
Yep. I think that... well, not to ruin my wonderful fantasy booking video at youtube.com/Real Take Wrestling.
Hold on, buddy. Hold on.
I'm holding.
Wait, no, hold on. There, right.
Okay. I appreciate that. No, but but I think that I think that there is a lot more meat on the bone of the story of Roman and Rock if The Rock witnesses Roman lose in that match. And because for me, it's like, imagine Rock like looking at Roman, right? And just looking at him getting like his ass beat. And he's just like, tribal chief? I'm supposed to acknowledge this? Like for me, it's like Rock in that moment has that like snap where he's like, dude, I'm not acknowledging this because this ain't my tribal chief. I'm the final boss. I run this family. And like I think that moment of realization and him like kind of like leaving Roman hanging a bit, that's amazing. And then because like here's the thing too. You can do a ref bump and the Bloodline's going to interfere anyway. Like the Bloodline will find a way to make their presence known in that match. Like
it's happening regardless. Yeah.
It's what they do. Like think about Clash at the Castle. There was supposed to be no Bloodline there. What happened? They brought in Solo Sikoa. So I mean, I think they'll find a way to make it like the whole Avengers assemble and it's gonna be an insane time at Mania. But I think that you could tell a much more compelling story with Roman kind of like failing in that first night, and then The Rock like witnessing that failure and just being like, this guy ain't it.
Yeah. I don't want to get into my prediction. I will just say, Sam, thank you for the super chat. I do want to say though, I actually want Cody and Seth to lose night one. I don't agree with Omer here because, you know, it's probably the realest take in wrestling. But what I will say, God, that's cringe. Look, here's the thing. I do like the idea of Cody and Seth losing because it's just part of the adversity. I said it last year. I say it this year. Cody needs to face more adversity before taking the belt off of Roman. The amount of adversity he faced this past year was great. I said earlier how they could have done it differently. But in the last 5 weeks, this whole thing with the Bloodline, it's been really, really good.
Yeah.
I need Seth to lose the belt on night 2, and I need Cody to win on night 1. Seth Rollins is not the superhero that I know Cody Rhodes is. So that's my guy. Cody is a superhero. So I need them to be beaten to shit. And then I need him to get screwed. I need like 15 people jumping on Cody, beating the hell out of him. And all the Avengers stuff needs to happen on Saturday night. Cody Rhodes needs to get his ass beat by like 15 people. And then lasers come out of his eyes. His cape wraps around. They use some CGI and then he pins the Bloodline. He pins them all. 15. Stack them, drop them, tag them, bag them. I forgot how Steve Macklin's thing goes, but yeah, that's what I want. I want some crazy, ridiculous shit. And then I want Cody to pull up on Raw right after, holding the belt and be like, this doesn't represent what it means to be a WWE champion. Throw that shit out. Trash that shit. WWE could use the gold belt for the celebrities. Cody got to pull out the new American Nightmare WWE Gold Eagle Championship thing.
He looks so good. Like, have you seen like the Photoshop renders? Like, he looks so good with that belt.
That's his thing, man. Yeah. That's his thing. It's destined for him. So that's what I want. Sam, thank you for the super chat. I am not Avery says Wardlow was not released, cannot confirm or deny. Okay, for those who don't know, I am not Avery. I don't even know how the whole joke started, but for some reason, we call him I am not Wardlow instead of I am not Avery. But obviously, guys, for those who don't know what is being referenced here, there was a list of 10 talent who were released from AEW. So you know what? This has nothing to do with Raw, but we're live. Let's talk about it for a minute. There was 10 people released from AEW. Dasha Fuentes, The Boys, aka the Tate twins, aka Dalton Castle's boys, Jorah Joel, Jose the assistant, Anthony Henry, Parker Boudreaux, Slim J. Am I missing anybody? I feel like I might be missing
Alex
somebody.
Reynolds.
Oh, no, not Alex Reynolds. Stu Grayson.
Sorry, Stu Grayson.
Yeah. So there was 10 people released. AEW is basically, according to Fightful Select and PW Insider, they were released due to budget cuts, restructuring of the company, something that Tony Khan would never, he said he would never do it. That's basically what Avery's Super Chat is about. I did make a video on this. Omer, did you make a video yet on it or no?
I did, and then it got corrupted, which was great. So
it got corrupted.
But I'll just quickly say on this, like, the most shocking thing about all of this is what Ango just referenced there. Like, this was something that's been reported for a while that Tony Khan did not want to let people go their contracts until they were either up or if it was like a mutual parting of ways, and that they have stuck to that up until this point. And I think it's unfortunately just one of those. It's one of these one of the bad parts of business that we just get to a point where a company gets big and those values mean less and less.
Yeah.
And it's more about how can we help our bottom line? And it's obviously, WWE did it. We've seen TNA do it. Like, all these companies have done it. So they're not doing anything that's not industry standard. However, it is notable that this is the first time they've done it in the past 4 years.
Yep.
Many people will argue they should have done more of these before. I tend to be on the side of if you sign a contract with people, keep them until you have to. Mm-hmm. But that's just me personally. But it's unfortunate for these talent involved. The most surprising one for me was Dasha Gonzalez. Yeah. I thought she was doing a good job ring announcing, and she kind of made Collision her show, and
she's awesome in my opinion.
Yeah, I was really surprised at that one. I was like, all the other ones you're looking at them okay, love Stu Grayson not getting used. Same with Parker. Same with a lot of these people. Yeah. The boys was also a bit of a surprising one because they were kind of telling the story with Dalton Castle, but little did I know they were, I guess, just writing them off TV. I don't know. Yeah. It's sad. It is sad for these guys and everyone involved. I hope there's a lot of talented people. They will land on their feet and but yeah, wish the best to them.
I did make a video on it. I get into it and I just I'll reiterate it for people that are watching us live here tonight. My big thing about releases, and I said it in the video, business is business. I'm not stupid. I get it. I've worked the corporate world. I've had to fire people because you're making budget cuts and you're doing, I understand. I know what that's like, but it's also the reason why I don't pick sides in this wrestling war. So any person that chooses to defame me and say that I do, or I'm a tribalist, or I'm this, or I'm that, or they'll quote something that's not actually quoted and I'm being misquoted. The reality is actually quite simple. The reason why I don't care to share any loyalty to any company in this world is because I don't believe in any of these companies. Because at the end of the day, for them, it is just business. There is no, we're a family. I don't believe in that shit. And you know what? I'm not going to censor myself. I believe if you're one of these companies who promise this family feeling, this family vibe in a company, they could go fuck themselves. And I believe that across from top to bottom, because I think the biggest reality is they have business to conduct and they got to do what they got to do to run their business. And the thing is, when you're a wrestler and you sign with a company, you understand that it could happen at any point in time. You have to understand. But what I don't like, and it's something I used to say a long time ago in the early days of AEW, and I could find the videos. I will look for it and I will find it. I used to say it. The sound bite exists. The clip exists where I say, hey, be careful about how you talk about these things that you say you'll never do, because you don't know what would prompt you to do the exact thing that you're saying you won't do. And this was an example. I understand people aren't being used. Stu Grayson was released before, gets brought back into the company, gets released again. I get it. I don't like it because these are human beings who lose their jobs. Thankfully, TNA is doing pretty well. They're bringing people in. NWA, whether you like them or not, they're sticking around, MLW brought in Riddle. They can make things happen. You know, WWE exists, NXT exists. Like, there is stuff out there. So thankfully, wrestling industry is much healthier for these people. New Japan, AAA, CMLL. There's places of work. These people will get hired 100%. But that's why I personally feel with the releases, I'm like, hey, I get it, but it sucks because people are losing their job. And I was telling you actually before we started this, and this is the last thing I'll say about the releases. WWE released 200 people during a pandemic. AEW didn't release anybody. And I sat there in video after video after video talking about, damn, I respect the fuck out of Tony Khan for that. Because I worked during the pandemic, and it was the worst time ever in terms of work. And I was just thinking, like, these people have a boss that's keeping them safe. And WWE dropped 200 people, and AEW was giving people a chance to work. And they were using AEW Dark as a way to give indie wrestlers a job. I never forget that stuff.
Yep.
Right? I was almost on the verge of tears for WWE talent getting released, because to me, I was like, this stuff is like a dream job for them, but it's also a dream job for me one day to work for a wrestling company, you know? And I slowly realized, I'm like, no, like I know, like, I do not believe in working for a major company. Like, the terms have to be on my side if it were to ever happen, because I don't agree with that.
Yep. The last thing I will say on this is just, it's all the more reason, guys, support your favorite wrestlers. Don't support companies like blindly, because you're going to deal with stuff like this. Your favorite wrestler is going to leave places. It's going to happen. Just support the people you like to see wrestle.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business, right? It sucks. One thing I will say about the releases too is, one thing I do at least find a positive in this: there is no non-compete clause. So,
did that come out?
PW Insider did report that. So AEW is not expected to have any of their talent on a non-compete clause. They are technically free agents. If WWE wants to bring in Jose, the assistant, literally they can do it right away. And there's actually quite a few reasons why they should, to be honest. But if they want to bring Dasha in as well, like they can bring her back if they choose. I don't expect everybody to get brought in by WWE, but I could see WWE looking at some people saying, hey, this could work. So yeah, Avery, pretty long answer to your super chat, but thank you. Tanya dropped a $5 super chat. 2 questions. Your views on them teasing a Judgment Day breakup, and will Roman retire? So really quick, Roman will not retire. As you could tell, we've been talking about some major stuff for post WrestleMania. And then as far as Judgment Day, I do want to talk a little bit about this in a little bit. Judgment Day, I don't think is breaking up completely. I think Judgment Day is completely restructuring. I think we see a little glimpse of that tonight. We saw it last week. We saw it on Raw and SmackDown for the last few. I mean, really for the last year, we've seen signs that Judgment Day slowly will surely break up. Seeds being planted. But I do think that the Judgment Day will not break up, but we're going to see new members, different members, and some people venture off on their own. What about you, Omer?
I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think the Judgment Day as an entity is going to continue on, but I think that, you know, we're going to see Rhea Ripley. Like, I feel like a lot of people already kind of view her as like the de facto leader, because she's like really that singular voice, like, hey guys, come on, get your stuff together. Yeah. But I think Rhea Ripley is going to be like the person to really lead that group. I think, you know, God, what's his WWE name? Damian Priest is gonna go and like, I think he's gonna go do his world title run. I think he's gonna be the guy to catch it on Drew, and it's gonna be great. And I think that's probably gonna cause a bit of a rift between him and Balor, because if, you know, Finn is sitting there like, man, if I could go back to SummerSlam 2016, I'm just not taking that buckle bomb bump.
Yeah.
But no, I think. I think Finn is a guy who I think is going to leave that group eventually, just because it's either time for him to do something different, or if rumors are believed to be true, he could be a free agent. Hard for me to see Finn leaving with Triple H in charge, but who knows?
Exactly. Tanya, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. We'll keep it moving. We're a little bit backed up right now, but that's what happens when you're engaged in conversation. Shout out to Richard Cohn for becoming a YouTube member. Billy That Kid 22 says, so many stories to spin off to after WrestleMania 40. It got me ready to see how Triple H uses them all. We did touch on this a little bit earlier briefly. Chat, I want to know from you guys. Let us know in our chat rooms, like, what are some stories that you look forward to post WrestleMania? That's actually the one thing. I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm actually more excited for what's to come after WrestleMania, because I feel like WrestleMania is just like a checkpoint where WWE now gets into like the really good stuff. Because now you could start moving people around on the rosters and facilitating trades if you want. Plus, we'll get the draft at some point. Plus these pay-per-views, and like there's just so much more coming. I feel like this is just another step in the right direction. Hopefully, obviously anything could change. It depends how they book WrestleMania too. But I feel like they have definitely set themselves up for some good stuff after.
Damn right.
Sam Piboon dropping another $4.99. Hey, Ango, do you think Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins show up at tonight's show, Jimmy Fallon on Wednesday, to kick Roman Reigns and The Rock's ass? Okay. Omer, did you see the Ariel Helwani thing with Becky and Rhea?
Yep, I thought it was great.
Do you remember? I tweeted this out, but do you remember Pat McAfee and Adam Cole?
Yep.
I need more stuff like this. Sam Piboon, I don't think we get it. I don't think we see this. But I swear to God, if it happens, I am going crazy. I will go crazy.
Jimmy Fallon's like the worst person you can put in that drink. He's just be like, oh, okay. Like, he's like the most awkward human being like ever. It would actually be hilarious.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, listen, I'd be down for it. That would be cool though. I like when wrestling blends into like the real world. So like, you know, podcasts or talk shows, people are fighting, and I mean, look at Jerry the King Lawler from back in the day, right? Like, it's fun. It's fun. Obviously, we know wrestling is a work, but you just try to make it not look like a work, and I think that's what gets people talking. So,
Still
Sam, thank you.
Damn it, still real to me.
It is. Lon Reyes, $1.99. Your thoughts on on the Judgment Day segment? So yeah, we already kind of talked about this. Omer, what do you think in terms of Andrade and Dom? And Dom is kind of just making decisions for himself now. Legado del Fantasma shows up. They're playing darts backstage. But, Santos meets Andrade, right?
That was cool.
What do you think happens? Is Andrade going to join the Judgment Day? Because if he takes care of the problem of Ricochet, he's joining the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him joining the Judgment Day and then, like, you know, very like 2 weeks later, just getting into a feud with Dom, and maybe he has Santos and Legado del Fantasma like behind him. Like, that could be something cool that they could do. And that's not me saying like I'm opposed to it, because like I'm also kind of like, man, like, okay, you're just gonna have Andrade. Like, it would be cool to see Andrade in the Judgment Day, because like it just seems like kind of like the most WWE thing to do is be like, oh yes, Andrade, put him with the Legado del Fantasma. I'm just like, okay, like we can branch out a bit. I don't know, it'd be cool.
You know, it's funny because when I see comments on my videos, like I talked about LWO, Legado del Fantasma, like faction versus faction.
Yeah.
And people are like, Andrade should join LWO. And it's like, they do that because that's like the stereotype, whatever. I said this like years ago, man, and I still stand firm on this. I love random ass factions. I really do. And to be honest with you, like now the Judgment Day has actually become so cohesive.
Yes.
But it's a random ass faction that wasn't really supposed to be this.
It shouldn't have worked. Shouldn't have worked, but it's so good.
I love it. So yeah, honestly, Andrade replacing Damian Priest could be kind of cool. You know, who knows? But I do love the segment. I've been a very big fan of these Judgment Day segments. I love the idea of like, hey, is it a possibility Legado del Fantasma and Judgment Day all merge into one super faction? Like, low key, it'd be kind of fun, right? Like, it could kind of make sense. I don't know. I don't know. But the one thing I really loved, I remember back in the day, it was Damian Priest or Rhea Ripley, one of them cutting a deal with Paul Heyman. And on TV for a short period of time, the Bloodline and Judgment Day were kind of like allies.
I remember.
I do like that type of stuff in wrestling. So it'd be cool to see like two random ass groups just come together. These two groups are random as hell. It'd be fun. I don't know. I think it'd be fun. But Lon, I did enjoy the segment. You seem to enjoy the segment. Really quick, what's your take on Andrade being in WWE? You feel like it's better than AEW, what he's been doing?
I mean, sure. Like he's doing something. That's already an improvement. On the first like year and a half, 2 years of his AEW run. But TBD. It hasn't been long enough for me to like really determine like whether or not it's good. But I'm hopeful. I think he needed to change the scenery though. Like it was just not working in the AEW.
Yeah. And there's people like that in WWE too.
Yeah.
There's people that could benefit from it. It's strange because certain people that I felt like needed a change of scenery ended up getting changed on TV to like where now I can't imagine them leaving. Drew McIntyre is a big one.
Yeah.
You know, I think Sheamus for a minute kind of needed a change of scenery. Now he's, you know, out. We'll see what happens. But like there's certain people in WWE where I'm like, man, like I just know they could be doing some cool shit in Japan or in AEW. So it's natural that it's going to happen. But it's so weird just with the Andrade thing. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a weird fit. And he doesn't need to be wrestling every week. But I like the idea of him kind of being involved from this standpoint. Because now it's like, okay, what will Andrade do? That's the first question I have. But did they also drop an Easter egg of maybe Andrade and Santos having a feud one day or coming together? I don't know. We don't know. But something was planted, right?
Yeah, because like it wasn't like it was cordial, but it wasn't like friendly, you know, like their little interaction was like, oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah. You know, so like they could be dropping the seats for something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Lon, thank you for the super chat. PFP MMA says $1.99. Does Miz have tiny balls? This is actually a very interesting question. Because I can't remember, like a year ago, Matt Riddle said for him to prove it. You know, that whole thing was like Maurice also coming out and saying he doesn't have tiny balls. I think that answers the question. Very odd super chat, but thank you, PFP MMA.
Brian is better than the Miz. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, do we need to regurgitate this talking smack segment from?
God, it's the most like it was a great segment. I don't want to hate on it, but I'm like, man, that segment has like carried the last like 7 years of the Miz. I'm just like, can we like move on, please?
No, I mean, I think the tiny balls thing was like from a heel perspective, I mean, that kind of caught on, to be fair. Like even Shinsuke Nakamura was saying to the Miz, like in Japanese, he had tiny balls.
So that was funny.
Like it did, you know, Logan Paul, obviously. So PFP MMA, I think the answer, I mean, when I hear 12,000 fans say the Miz has tiny balls, I'm going to assume it's true. I don't know. Billy that kid 22 $9.99 says I'm really excited for After Mania, but I'm very intrigued by Gunther, Sami, and Gable. This is perfect segue. Omer, tonight we saw Sami Zayn go up against Big Bronson Reed.
Yep.
We'll talk about WWE's mid card as well, but this is like another fun match. Before the match, though, we get this really cool Rocky type of training montage with Chad Gable and Sami Zayn. I tweeted out. I said it reminds me a lot of NXT 2.0 vignettes and video packages. I like it, bro. I like it. I think it's a little bit more fun. It's, you know, it's weird because it's not Lucha Underground, but I like the idea of kind of telling stories outside of the ring as well.
Yep.
So I felt like we got a really cool video package. There's a lot of layers to the Chad Gable, Sami Zayn thing. Sami Zayn has this match with Bronson Reed. And Gunther just kind of ruins everything.
Yeah. I think one of the really good things that WWE has done in 2024 is realize that Chad Gable should be on TV, like not just on TV having good matches and then losing, but on TV developing an actual freaking character. Yeah. And I think they have done a really good job, a lot better job than I thought they were going to do. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, I love Sami Zayn, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
But when Chad Gable lost that match, I was mad. There was a hot second there, and there was probably like the inner fan in me being like, "Come on, I just want to see Chad win something meaningful."
Yeah.
But I think they're doing a good job building the story. Whether it's Gable potentially costing Sammy at like a Mania, like there's a few different ways you could go here, but I don't know. I like it. I think that some point soon it is time for Gunther to move away from the Intercontinental title picture and just move him up the card. You want to talk about a feud for Cody? That would be an epic feud for Cody. Like if you're not going to do Randy Orton, like you said, that could be an epic feud for Cody, like coming off of WrestleMania.
Yeah. Nah, it's funny because Gunther, I mean, dude, he's a G. He's a G. He's a stud. He carries himself so well too as a champion. Like he's gonna be hard. He's gonna look. Gunther is gonna be one of those guys for sure, Hall of Famer. But like, I can't imagine Cody winning the championship and then immediately losing to Gunther. But like, I could kind of see it happening because Gunther is that good the way he's been presented. The only thing I did want to mention, though, really importantly, too, was the fact that Ilya Dragunov is expected to get a Gunther type of push. So now, one of the things I talked about on my channel before, there was a report that came out. I was talking to some people as well to like actually see if this was true. And I got confirmation it's expected, right? But Chad Gable is expected to actually have a post-Mania push. So that video came out before the Chad Gable losing the gauntlet thing. And I was like, well, I told people, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I hate the idea of him losing, but I'm willing to like let it play out,
Yeah.
So now I see that kind of happening. And the first thing I kind of think of is, can we get to the point where Chad Gable gets the push, but he doesn't have the longest reign?
Yeah.
And then you call up Ilya Dragunov. So Ilya Dragunov and Chad Gable, first of all, would be an insane match. We're like insanity. Like Dave Meltzer is gonna have to he's gonna have to change his rating scale on that.
No, it's in WWE. It's gonna be like
no, because they're letting them do more and more these days. And trust me when I tell you, WWE, they're doing the more sports presentation. Look, the Roman Reigns, Brock, Cody.
That was more of an indictment on Meltzer than it was WWE. But
my bad.
It was a little bit of a dig.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I like. Let's have some fun. I think Dave Meltzer's scale sucks, but at the same time, too, I would never put my stock. Like, if I was a wrestler, I wouldn't really care about what some dude on the internet saying about my matches. I care about if I'm putting, if I'm making my boss happy and everybody else is happy. Because at the end of the day, that's the job. But what I would say is this, though: Chad Gable and Ilya Dragunov would be insane. And on the Ango scale, before the match happens, I could tell you it's going to break the scale. So like Chad Gable should be the one to dethrone Gunther, but then Ilya Dragunov should be the one to dethrone Chad Gable. Or I'm sorry, Ilya Dragunov. Yeah, Ilya Dragunov should dethrone Chad Gable. And then what's really cool is when WrestleMania 42 or WrestleMania 43 comes around, you got Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Because Gunther is actually going to beat Roman Reigns' title reign.
I really that's okay. Wow, you just slipped that in there.
Yeah, I slipped and pulled out real quick. The floor is yours, my friend.
Hey, it's Ramadan. I gotta keep it. Gotta keep it halal. But no, I mean, okay. The Roman thing aside, because like we could spend like an hour on that. But I would love that. I just really hope, like, and look, this is like wishful thinking on my part. I hope by that point we get to like the point where Triple H is like, hey, I'm gonna take like the cuffs off these guys, and I'm just gonna let them go out there and have like the NXT type bangers that they were having, because when you get on the main roster, there is still like a little bit of that, like you know what it is. It's like a little bit slower, a little bit more storytelling, and that's fine. There's multiple different ways to storytell. I mean, these two are the type of wrestlers that they can tell a great story by just going out there and having a great match. Like, so I hope if they do get to it, like we get like a proper Ilya versus Gunther match. But nah, that would be epic. I'd be so down for that. 10 stars on the Omer Q scale.
Love it. Which, by the way, shout out to Billy That Kid for the super chat. Guys, just a reminder, Omer is on youtube.com/Real Take Wrestling at Real Take Wrestling. If you're not subscribed to him at this point, what are you doing? We're simulcasting for the Raw After Mania, also live on X. So yeah, just kind of bringing up that reminder. We got one more super chat. Oh, go ahead.
Saying getting those Elon pennies.
Elon pennies. Yeah, you were here for that. You heard that, right?
Yeah, I was there for that.
Hey, I don't know, man. I canceled my Twitter Blue, but then that Twitter Blue check came in, and I was like, getting abused by all these AEW fanboys does pretty well. The Elon pennies might be worth it. I don't know. Last super chat, and then we'll keep it moving. PFP MMA says, where do we go with Karrion Kross's group? So it was made official today. Final Testament versus Bobby Lashley and Street Profits, Philadelphia Street Fight, night 1 of WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley left off the card last year. Karrion Kross this year, finally at WrestleMania. AOP will be there. Actually, let me just ask you, because I said Karrion Kross, every time he loses, he changes his opponents. He could be a pretty credible person for Cody. And then you're like, I'll get back to that. And then for some reason you've been dodging it. Is because you're not a believer in Karrion Kross?
No, I just don't like the way he's being presented on WWE TV. Might just not be for me.
What is it? What is it though? Because I need to understand this. Help me understand, brother.
This is like the dude. Okay, I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. But when Karrion Kross comes on my TV screen, it's like change the channel like type vibes. I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, what else is going on? He just has not resonated with me the way that he did in NXT. It just hasn't hit the same for me. I think I love that AOP is back and doing their thing. That's cool. And I'm glad that Bobby Lashley is going to get a WrestleMania match this year. But, I'm just not all that invested in Karrion Kross. Part of that might just be there's a lot of WWE TV out there, guys. There's a lot of TV. I'm not going to be interested in every single thing. Just like I'm not interested in every little thing in an AEW TV, Mm-hmm. I think that's really it. I have the little things that I really like that I pay attention to. Karrion Kross stuff, it's there. I'm sure it's going to be a fun match. I'm going to be there to watch it. So, yeah.
Let me ask you, and this is kind of like a crazy question, but I was talking to someone in my Discord, and they said the only thing they said they don't resonate with Karrion Kross because he's not being booked like the way he was in NXT. But if you look at the way he's being booked, it's actually 100% to a T. The same thing with NXT. He was always just this psycho, crazy guy. He does these chokeholds and all that shit, whatever. But he said that it was the hair.
The hair, the hair.
And I swear, I don't know if this is a real thing. I don't know. Wrestling fans could be kind of weird with the way they judge wrestling too. We're all kind of weird. We're talking about a scripted sport. At the end of the day. But I do find it fascinating that somebody said this, because if you actually look it up on Twitter too, people do complain. They're like, oh, it's the long hair for me. Like when he was bald, he just seemed more ruthless and more aggressive, more intense. And now he has long hair.
Now, he
posted a video on smoking a cigar on Twitter, So it's is it because he's just got a different presentation? I don't know. I like it. I like the group. I think it's great. Also, obviously, people know I've interviewed AOP. I've been on good terms with them. So there is a little bit of bias there. Razar is Albanian. I'm Albanian. I've had conversations with him about that on and off screen. So obviously I do have a little bit of bias towards AOP, but I always liked Karrion Kross. I don't know. Maybe it's just the hair for some people.
Look at this insider trading. This is horrible. Look, you need to cancel yourself, Ango.
Can't cancel me.
The one thing I will say about Karrion Kross is The other thing is like I just don't think he's a good promo. Like
really,
yeah, and he comes across and like there's hope. Okay, I don't know how else to explain it because like the way I view wrestling is based off of what I like. Like if you want me to go through like an analytical lens with Karrion Kross, the one thing I would say is that his promos like delivery is good. The thing is just I don't think what he's saying is resonating with the larger fan base. Like because part of it is because people I think have been kind of conditioned and this is partially like unfair to Karrion Kross. It's like people are just kind of conditioned to see him as like another guy like who doesn't really matter and part of that's because there's been a lot of start and stop with him, right? And once you get into that pattern, right? It becomes harder and harder to get over. Like think about Dolph Ziggler. How difficult was it to take Dolph seriously at moments when he was cutting promos and you knew that like he was like undercut for years. Yeah. And then in the promos, he'd be like, I've been doing the same thing for 10 years and I'm going to continue to do the same thing for next 10 years. Like what? Like lose? Okay. No, but so I think part of it is that for me. And I try my best to like overlook it. It's just like, the other part is like I'm just not the character isn't resonating with me personally.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess and that's the good thing about wrestling. Like for me, I actually do like it. I feel like I've liked his WWE run ever since he came back, even when he was doing the stuff with Drew McIntyre. But I do like the fact that there is a little bit of like a connection. I really do appreciate that. Like every time he loses, I always say, like my big argument in wrestling is like, hey, if you lose a match, it's actually not that big of a deal as long as there's a logic applied to it, right? Now, if he loses in a Philadelphia street fight, they got to do this the right way because him losing to all those other people in the past, it didn't matter. He snaps, goes crazy on them, and then they all lose their temperament. They change their character, stuff like that. I like that. I like that there's something that comes with it. But yeah, it's not for everybody. Let's keep it moving. We got a couple more Snapchats, super chats. Thank you, PFP MMA. Sean G, $5 says, do you think that AEW needs a little positive press between the Punk interview, the releases, etc.? Would allowing Dustin at WrestleMania help? That's actually a really good point because it could very well help AEW, in my opinion. I have to think about my answer, but I'll let you go first.
Well, yeah, I mean, I work in PR, and if I was advising AEW right now, I'd be like, yeah, you need some goodwill right now because the Punk interview and everything that he had to say does not show your company in a good light. Because like, and this is like one of those things of I explained this in the video that I did. By the way, it's like I did like a 40-minute breakdown of Punk's interview. Go check that out on the channel. But the thing is like in the beginning, I think part of the reason why Tony Khan went out there and like did his whole like, you know, hi, I'm CEO Tony Khan, like, you know, like explained why Punk got released was like he was trying to like get ahead of like, you know, the narrative battle, which is like something in PR that's a big deal. Like you want to be able to be controlling that narrative for pardon the pun, because the first thing that people hear is generally like what in their mind is going to be like, you know, their source of truth. Like, and the thing they always go back to. That's just how people are weirdly conditioned. But I think Punk saying everything that he did and, you know, being as detailed and as he was, which people it was unexpected to at least me. Like I knew he was going to talk about it and I fully expected him to talk about it. I just didn't know it was going to be the extent that it was. And I think it broke through that original kind of like narrative that AEW tried to control. Anyway, all that to say, hell yeah, they need some positive press. They should allow Dustin to be at WrestleMania anyway, because and I know Tony has like a whole thing with Triple H. I'm not going to get into that, but I mean it would be doing right by Dustin's family on one hand, and also it would be in the spirit of what AEW claims to be all about, which is, you know, fostering and relationships and doing what's best for wrestling. Do I wish WWE would do a little bit of that more? Sure, but I think AEW is they want to stand on business. Stand on business.
I think they were so anti WWE because of Vince McMahon. Let's just call it what it was. Vince McMahon was running WWE. They were anti-WWE at a time where people did not want what Vince was giving them.
Yep.
And that garnered them a really good hardcore fan base. And the reality is a lot of those things that they said negatively kind of hurt them in the ass a little bit, because now it's a different regime. No matter what his relationship or how he views Triple H, it doesn't matter. Somebody else owns WWE. Triple H is just an employee. So at the end of the day, if Ari Emanuel's like, hey, you know what? That could be a cool idea. Bring us Dustin Rhodes. You know what? Dragon Lee, you guys want to borrow him for something? You guys want to do Forbidden Door? Yeah, we'll do it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Ari Emanuel and Endeavor own the UFC. Anything is possible. You never know. If it makes business sense, nothing is off the table. So I feel like they kind of hurt themselves in the very beginning and throughout time, maintaining such a strong anti-WWE stance. And, you know, no matter how Tony Khan will try to frame the answer, there's the interviews where he does a lot of talking. He did the early interviews in 2019 with Chris Van Vliet, talking about how WCW died and talking about how they shouldn't sign a bloated roster. And literally all they've done is bloat their roster. So there's been a lot of times where you see interviews and hypocrites, you know, but that's what happens. Business people are hypocrites because they got to do what they think is best for their business. And sometimes what they think that's best for business isn't best for business, but that's what they lead with. Do I think they need positive press? Yes, I do. I think they do. Do I think their product right now is the hottest it's ever been in terms of creative? For me, this is the best the product has been since 2019, 2020.
Yep.
But I'm a tribalist, so I'm anti-AEW. And
Ango really loves Control Your Narrative. That's his favorite wrestling company.
The thing is, like, it's funny because with AEW right now, like, the press is bad, right? So people will think, because I talk about it, people are going to be like, oh, well, he's anti-AEW. But the thing is, I talk about it because, one, there's an interest in it. But two, a lot of the things like that Punk was talking about, I actually, unlike you, I didn't expect Punk to talk about those things. I really thought there's NDAs on everything. And I also thought too, like, I have people coming to me, and this is where people truly get exposed for not watching our content and like not understanding the words that come out of our mouth, which is why I'm glad like the footage exists of me like saying this stuff. But my whole sentiment was, oh, if you're getting backstage fights, I don't really care who started it, who did it, who responded, who did. Fire them all. Fire them all. It's a problem. It's making your company look bad. That's been my thing. And so I see Punk this entire time constantly. And I know Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez sure had a lot to say about all out. And it's like, well, fuck, for CM Punk's point of view, he probably feels like he is being slandered. He never gets to tell his truth. So today, he's doing this interview, and I'm like, oh, he's not just dropping a pipe bomb. This dude is like nuking it. He's going off. He said a lot of stuff that is harmful to AEW, calling Tony Khan not a real boss. He's a nice guy, not a boss. You know,
I believe the quote was, "This place is an effing joke. You're a clown. I quit." I mean, it's not good. I think like the other thing the other thing to remember though is like, because people, we live in the age of X and TikTok and all that stuff, and we live in an age where, like, you know, we're in our ecosystems and we love to talk about things as if we know everything in the moment. The reality is too that this is Punk's perspective, like. And it's by no means like trying to, like, you know, hate on his credibility or invalidate his experiences. I'm sure a lot of his experiences are valid. And honestly, there are some things in there that I think we all agree with. Like, no way that should have been allowed to carry on for as long as they did. AEW just simply did not have the structures in place to deal with it. And that is an indictment on management. But like, I also am like not going to be the person who's like, you know, like every little thing that he said is 100% true, because no, like, there's Punk side, there's the other side, the elite side, and then there's like probably the truth a little bit in the middle. Yeah. Like, and that's what I think gets lost in all of this, because like people are going to be like talking about like, oh, CM Punk burying AEW, CM Punk. Look at how they treated poor CM Punk. Yeah. And it's like, dude also kind of admitted the choking. So he's like,
I thought that was funny.
I choked him a little bit, you know, like, but I'm not a violent guy. It's like, okay, come on, Phil.
I love how he joked about that, but also at the same time too, it's not like it's like a joke that was a little too real, you know. But no, one thing I will say about the Punk thing, and Sean, to really answer your super chat, people need to understand with AEW, and I said this a long time ago, people don't care about the product. A lot of people, this is the reality of wrestling fans on the internet, what you see. Not true fans, like real fans, like people that actually watch it and like normal people. But these people that are hiding behind these avatars on social media, a picture that's not them, you know, I think a lot of these people just tweet whatever somebody else says. They regurgitate it, reword it.
Yeah.
And that's their opinion because it's what gets them the engagement. So the reality is, like, when I say that AEW, and I know actually there's a couple creators who are guilty of this, and trust me, those are going to be some very fun conversations. But there are some creators who have such a pro stance for AEW that they will label me anti-AEW. But like, if you watch any of my AEW content in 2024, it sounds a lot like AEW in 2019, 2020, and 2021. It sounds a lot like it.
And it's this weird place of like, if you criticize, because like, look, you and I, we've had these conversations. We don't like, I don't think we like, there are some ways where we see professional wrestling very similarly. There's a place where we depart. Bro, that's life. Like, people have different views on things. It's, I like, and I think people don't think about that. They just see like takes like, well, I didn't enjoy X, Y, and Z on this show. I'm looking at it from an analytical lens. And I think people, like, if you're one of those people who's like, well, like, if you don't like it, don't watch the show. I'm not going to hate on that because I think that's a valid criticism in my opinion. Sure. But like, for people to be like, there are a lot of people who are like, oh my God, like you're only here to hate on AEW, or in my case, you're only here to hate on WWE. It's like, no, I think WWE had the greatest storyline of the past like 20 years with the Bloodline. Did I think they ruined it a little bit? Yeah. And I'm going to call them out when they do that. But it's just sharing your perspective is impossible. And in this age, because everyone's got an opinion about your opinions and
why their opinion is better than your opinion.
Exactly.
And I don't recall, I'm sorry, but I don't recall telling somebody, hey, tell me your opinion. And then after you tell me your opinion, be a dickhead to me. I don't recall that. Because the reality is this, and this is why social media is so annoying. And it's a big part of it too. Like, I take a responsibility because sometimes I just don't care about the responses. So I'll be like, oh, you know, F off this and that, whatever. Because I genuinely don't care. But the reality is that Omer, for example, could put a video out 15 minutes long. In 30 seconds of it, he says, AEW Dynasty will fail. But after that, he actually says why it's going to fail and why it has everything to do with the drama surrounding the company and how great the show will actually be. But you see 30 seconds that align with your argument in that time period, you run with that. You don't seek full context. And I think with AEW, they are screwed by this, because what happens is Punk in that interview today, a lot of people are not quoting this. They're not talking about this in their videos. They're not tweeting about it. But Punk in that interview says, I do wish them well. And he also says that he's become friends with a lot of people. He says that him and AEW were just in two different types of businesses. They view the businesses differently. But at the same time, too, he wishes them well. And why do I see a whole bunch of tweets that show CM Punk completely bashing AEW's drama and Tony Khan as a boss, but they're not talking about how he still wishes them to be successful? He fully admits, with the full context, he fully admits exactly the shortcomings. He even talks about trauma as a kid may have caused him to even do some of this stuff, but that's not being talked about. So, Sean, the reality, and we spent too much time on the super chat, but I think this has been a good convo. AEW doesn't need positive press so much. They need it, yes, but the reality is, no matter what in pro wrestling, whether it's WWE or AEW, the reality is the little small thing that gets people to click and to emotionally get triggered will be the thing that gets talked about and not the full context behind it.
Last thing I will say, I promise, but like it's also like from a, again, PR brain is like creeping in here. Like I look at the way AEW kind of like, markets like a lot of their events, like a lot of it's done on Twitter. And I'm like, it's like that is where some of your base is. And that is a place like to share information. You should take advantage of that. Absolutely. But I'm also like, if they spent like this time that they want, like we're talking about doing positive PR, if you spent that time like doing like local markets, like actually having wrestlers go 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance of like these local markets, like where you're only going to draw like 4,000 people, like, and the quarter of the arena is going to be empty, like, or a quarter of the arena is going to be full. Like, you could be spending so much more time doing that than getting into like these arguments and engagement farming, which is like a tactic that everyone's done. Like it's a tried and true method. I just wish there was more time, and I hope there will be. There's a lot of changes going on with AEW that I think are going to be positive over the next little while. But yeah, I just really hope they buckle up, man, because they have too good of a TV show for them to be slacking like that.
If you say something about WWE positive, but then you say something negative about WWE, people will start to comment more about the thing that you say negative, right?
Yep.
You're anti-WWE. Not one person will ever care to actually listen to what you're saying.
Nope.
And so what I've realized throughout this time is nobody's really going to care how good AEW does. If your mind is made up that you want to be anti-AEW, you're going to be anti-AEW. But I said this years ago, do not go for this type of audience, because in a flip of a switch, if they want to turn their backs on you, they could. And they've actually done it at times. Now, the reality is this, for AEW, and I think CM Punk said it best, where he just sees the business differently than AEW. He was asked to be a consultant for Tony Khan. He had 2 different contracts, and like the way he sees wrestling is different than AEW. And I think what people truly need to realize is that the more AEW pays attention to that side of the business, the more this type of stuff will impact them. Yep. Because again, people will just take the little negative, and because they know it's getting that engagement, and people they're responding. I see it with myself. I say a million positive things about AEW, and the tweets get 1,000 or 2,000 views. If I say one negative thing about AEW, it blows up. It gets 1 million views. And I don't say the negative things to get paid pennies from Elon. So at the end of the day, that's just the world that we live in. It will never change. I promise you, it will never change. I truly believe that AEW right now is on fire in terms of creative, and people criticize me for that. And I'm like, but this is how I know you're not a true listener. Go listen to my content, listen to the way I judge wrestling, and then listen to my content and how I judge AEW then, and look at it now and tell me there's no similarities. The similarities are there. But you actually work in PR. I'm sure Tony Khan pissed people off with the way he uses Twitter and the way he's anti-WWE. Now people genuinely don't give a shit about his product. They just love to tweet about how shitty AEW is. And those people think I'm that type of guy. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, for the for the pro WWE people, when you say something negative about WWE, they think you're on that side of the spectrum. When in reality, we're just 2 normal dudes and we enjoy wrestling, but we enjoy wrestling on a micro scale, meaning this episode was really good. This episode had some decent stuff. This episode was pretty damn shitty, but I did like this. There's always a but. And the thing is, if I don't pay attention to those, I just think, oh, you're negative. You're negative. But the reality is you got to actually listen to the full thing for context.
Yep.
So, yeah. Sean G, thank you for the super chat. Curtis Lee dropping $2. No comment. Thank you, Curtis. Scripps Wrestling Federation has become a YouTube member. Join the main eventers. Really appreciate that. Thank you. CD dropping to $4.99. I feel like Tony turned Cody's original vision into somewhat of a nightmare. Huh.
How do you read that?
I feel like Tony. Huh. I don't know.
I feel like Tony turned Cody's original vision. Oh, is he talking about AEW?
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
I mean, okay. This is the. I love everyone. I just want that to be known, but it's like I feel like sometimes people like to be hyperbolic for the sake of being hyperbolic.
Yeah.
And which is fine. Like, it's wrestling. Like, we're allowed to talk smack. We're allowed to like joke about it. It is what it is. But I'm like, I wouldn't exactly call AEW a nightmare. Like, as a company, like, they're still going to get a significant rights increase on their next TV deal. They're likely going to be in a position over the next like 5 or so years where they're going to be profitable if some of these estimates are to be believed. So like, I mean, nightmare is like subjective. Backstage could be a nightmare, like, like probably, but you also have to factor in like there's way more leaks that we get out of AEW than there are WWE. So
why do you think that is though?
Oh, because I mean, I think part of it is. I think part of it is that the AEW crowd, like, there is a reality of this where you're in WWE, it's a more established brand. You're less likely to leak stuff out because it's like you kind of know better. With AEW, it's like you feel like you can get away with it a little bit more. And I think that's like part of the reason why Punk in AEW didn't work. Yeah. Because I think part of it was Punk felt like he could get away with a little bit more. And again, this is like only part of that equation. And also I think there was, when he got to WWE, there was kind of like more respect for that more established brand and like the structures that were in place there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, think of it, apply this to any normal job, right?
Yeah.
That's why I always say, like, wrestling is not anything different from a normal job. Like, here's the thing. I believe in with work, and I'm not saying this is the right way. It's just what I believe in. But like with a job, for example, if I join a company and you have more seniority than me, I'm going to pick your brain. Why? Because more seniority typically means more money and stuff like that. And I think AEW in general, 5 years, now it's been 5 years, it's still a young company. Yeah. Whereas like Punk in WWE doesn't really have seniority, you know? And on top of that, it's a new ownership. So Punk has a lot more to lose in WWE by screwing up. And obviously in AEW, he doesn't really care. Like you said, he's just going to try to get away with it. But I also think one thing needs to be clear with AEW. Mm-hmm. And to really talk about their original vision, AEW is not profitable. It's weird how offensive that is to people, but they're not. They're not going to be. That's why TV deals matter. The TV deal, if it gets $1 billion, I can't imagine how they wouldn't be profitable. I'm making the assumption, I haven't seen their books, but that's the reason why I said this before. Tony Khan started AEW because he saw in 2019, he saw what WWE was getting for TV deals. He saw the sports rights and TV rights, and he's like, well, you know, and clearly the plan was to get the bigger TV deal. So when I see that AEW throughout time is not profitable, probably a big reason why we got roster cuts and stuff today. But I think the big thing is while AEW is trying to grow and become profitable, you have to put somebody with experience that understands the business in your corner. And Tony Khan did it differently than WWE. He brought in wrestlers and he brought in performance center coaches. He didn't bring in television show writers. He didn't bring in WWE executives. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. Punk was somebody that Tony should be able to go to. The reality is not everybody looked at CM Punk as somebody who demanded their respect. So when I think of AEW's vision kind of becoming a nightmare, the only way it becomes a nightmare is if they don't get a massive TV deal. That's the only way this is a nightmare. I think they're riding on the TV deal. Fuck the crowds and the size of it. People could talk about attendance, but they need that TV deal to be big. And I think Tony Khan looked at CM Punk as one Bill Phil. And I think a lot of other people are like, well, we're doing more work than him. We're doing these types of matches. And that's the difference. So I think Tony Khan's vision is distorted based on he's got people saying this and he's got people saying this. Two different philosophies that exist backstage.
Growing pains. I mean, that's with any company, like any young company. There's going to be growing pains. And I think Tony Khan said in an interview like a few months ago, like he was like, you know, like 2025 is really going to be like the year that AEW establishes itself as like not just like, you know, like a secondary company or the alternative, but like as the true challenger brand that he wants it to be. Yeah. And like you're seeing them bring in Kosha Irby, you're seeing them bring in Jennifer Pepperman, former WWE writer, like things you were just talking about. Like those things are happening now. And there is like a bit of more integration there, and those things will help. But yeah, And again, nightmare. Like, look, this is not the NWA. Shout out to you, Billy Corgan. But
that's the most press he's gotten in 3 years.
You're welcome.
That right there.
You're welcome for that. But yeah, no, AEW is fine. Like, they're still one of the top shows. Like, being one of the top shows in your time slot in primetime television, like, it is still like people don't realize in television like how much that means. Like, the ratings aren't as good as they were, but they're still good. Like, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with like the whole Netflix Max deal. Like, assuming AEW goes on Max, well, we know Raw is going on Netflix. That's gonna be a really interesting. That's gonna be a really interesting time for wrestling.
I've been saying this for the longest time. The reason why wrestling is even in demand is because there's so much live content, and live content, especially sports entertainment, they generate good revenues for advertisers. And like the thing for AEW and WWE is that's why TV deals are a big thing. WWE, if they weren't selling out shows, they would still be fine because they're creating a desirable product. Same with AEW. And that's why it's like, I don't like the conversation about ratings. Now, what I will say is what will be very alarming to me is if Max doesn't resign or HBO, well, Warner Bros. Discovery, if they don't re-sign AEW.
That would be big.
I think that to me is nightmare. That's panic mode. Because I think all these companies rely on TV deals. I do. I think that's the big measurement of success. So until that happens, that's why you don't hear me say AEW will die. And I did want to point this out too. Mike mentioned in the chat, he says, is ROH still a thing? It is. I will be the first person to tell you guys I do not watch it religiously anymore. I stopped. There's just too much wrestling. But I will say, from everything that I've seen, and I've seen over a dozen episodes, I still watch the pay-per-views when they have them, and I do watch all the clips. So I might not be watching the full episode, but I'll be watching clips and matches from time to time. No matter what anybody wants to say, what Tony Khan did with ROH, he should always be given credit for, because I remember covering Sinclair owning ROH, and ROH was not doing anything before. So Tony Khan not only gave people a job, but he also he pretty much did the most that ROH has ever had, to be honest. Like, ROH has never had something that great. So I did want to point that out. But he's got to get the new TV deal. Once he gets the TV deal, I can assess whether or not he's truly living in a nightmare. I don't think so. Tony Khan's got money. And he just freed up 10 contracts today, so he's going to have a little bit more money to play with. CD, thank you for the super chat. I do want to take a look at the chat, Omer. While I look at the chat, is there anything you want to say? I know maybe anything you want to talk about. I don't know if you got any like shout outs you want to give or anything like that.
Sure. I'll just like say this real quick. For people who are watching live, whether you're on my audience or Ango's audience, today I launched a Patreon where I'm going to have a lot of exclusive content. There's literally hours upon hours of content that's already up there, exclusively on patreon.com/@RealTakeSport, or sorry, wrong Patreon. Patreon.com/RealTakeWrestling. That is going to be the location where you guys can support the channel. Littlest, like literally $5 a month, you get basically all of the exclusive content, all of the backlog content, everything that in the Real Tape library. It's all in there. You get early access to video essays, booking videos, all the docu-style content that's going to be coming out on the channel. You get all of that early, exclusive, right there. Patreon.com/Real Take Wrestling. I'm really excited for this new thing, and I hope you guys will join me, and I hope you guys will support.
I vouch. I look, dude, you know, it's fascinating because now you've been growing and you've been getting subscribers, but I don't even remember how like the first time we even linked up. I swear I don't remember, but I love seeing that you're growing. I love seeing that you're doing all of these different things. But also for me, like seeing you launch this Patreon, I look forward to it because I feel like I've seen you get more creative these days. And like, that's the thing to me, like, I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously, guys, if you're not subscribed to Real Take Wrestling, go subscribe and then definitely check out the Patreon. and check out pretty much everything you have on social media too. I saw an interesting thing in the chat. CD, who recently left a super chat, says, do you think we get a brawl at the Hall of Fame to further the hype for WrestleMania? Well, it did get revealed today. Pretty freaking sneaky, by the way. Hold on. We didn't talk about this part. So they do this thing where Roman Reigns is leaving for the night.
Yep.
And the reason why he's leaving for the night is so he could go and write his induction speech for Paul Heyman. He ends up coming back later to beat the hell out of Cody and Seth. But kind of thinking like, oh, Roman's being the one to induct Paul Heyman. So one, what's your reaction to that? And two, do you think we get a brawl at the Hall of Fame?
We will definitely get a brawl at the Hall of Fame. Or bare minimum, we will get like that little like face off they do where it's like someone stands up and like they feign like being angry at each other. But I think it makes sense to do like a big face off the night before WrestleMania, get those eyeballs on it. Like The Rock's going to be there. Let's just do it. Roman inducting Paul Heyman, I think it's an appropriate choice. Like the past 3 years, like he's been right by Roman's side. And as we saw in that like Roman Reigns documentary that was released, the A&E one, like Paul Heyman was like advising Roman and like talking to him, like even like as far back as like the 2015 WrestleMania main event. So in my view, like I think it's an appropriate pick. There's obviously one person out there who they probably would have chosen over Roman that they're definitely not going to choose for obvious reasons. But that was cool. I will say this: my number one choice would have been just based off of like my own view. I would have loved to see RVD induct Paul Heyman. That would have been cool because I feel like he would have had some like cool stories to tell from back in the ECW days.
Tommy Dreamer would have been mine, but that's because there's a very infamous story about Tommy Dreamer and Paul Heyman. Look, you know, one thing I will say, it's I like the idea of the brawl happening at Hall of Fame. Last year, the big talking point was Dominic and Ray. So Dominic and Rhea Ripley walked out of the Hall of Fame. It was such a small little thing too, but they walk out when Ray was doing it. It's nice to keep kayfabe alive during Hall of Fame because that doesn't typically happen, you know. And this year, man, that will cement. Like I'll say it, I have family members who like stopped watching wrestling for a while, and they're on social media seeing these clips, and they're like, "Oh, this is freaking rad." They're like, "This is so cool," and I'm like, "Bro, I talk about this every day. Why don't you just ask me?" You know, but it's cool because people are interested.
Yep.
And my brother and my friends who watched ECW, they're like, "Oh, this Paul Heyman induction, like I kind of want to hear that ECW stories, right?" So like RVD inducting would be cool, but I think the brawl could be fun for those people who don't really do the, you know, if you do the holy crap moments that make people think a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is this real? Though that's the best. I seen a lot of people ask me about the original Las Vegas kickoff event. And there, you know, you see The Rock walking backstage and he's swearing, and it's like, oh, they're kind of making you think that this isn't part of the script. And I think those moments make for really compelling television. So I don't know what your schedule is like for like WrestleMania week, but obviously I'll be live post SmackDown. And I think my live stream will pretty much be extended because I will probably end up doing a watch along to the Hall of Fame and then just review absolutely everything.
I'm going to be at Supercard of Honor watching
ROH.
I'm going to be watching Mark Briscoe hopefully win the ROH title.
You're anti WWE. You know what? Let me just get you off the stream.
Yeah.
He's off the stream. He's done. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, he's back. No, it's Supercard of Honor should be fun too. Random thought, but Stardom being involved is really nice. Nice little touch. Rossi gets out and now Stardom is all of a sudden working with AEW. How crazy is that, dude? Wrestling is crazy.
That was a wild night on wrestling Twitter.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was like, children all around.
Of course. What else? I'm taking a look at the chat. Chester says, Ango, did you see that WWE posted about The Rock's grandmother going into the Hall of Fame and he will induct her? So how does this go down? Let's talk about a possible brawl, right? Do you do it when The Rock is inducting his grandmother? That's kind of shitty. You probably do it when Roman and Heyman, right?
Heyman's the headliner, right?
He is. So he would be the last. Yeah. You wouldn't do it when his grandmother's getting inducted. That would be bad.
What I would do is I would have Rock like tease it when he like inducts his grandmother. Like I would have him tease it a little bit, and then like it'll like kind of build up that tension like later in the night, and like so it kind of crescendos and get a cool segment.
Should be fun. Yeah, the Hall of Fame this year is cool. The only thing I hate about WrestleMania weekend, there's just too much happening. Supercard of Honor last year, was it last year when Dante Martin broke his ankle?
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, so like I remember watching that, dude. Because I did a live review of both SmackDown and Supercard of Honor. That's how I did it, merged it. This year I'm not covering ROH. It's not fair to cover a show that I'm not actively watching consistently. But I will say, let me ask you for Supercard of Honor, Athena versus Hikaru Shida.
Shida, yeah.
So just out of curiosity, is there any likelihood that Shida wins?
So I'm honestly torn because like part of me wants to see Athena like kind of just like move on and do stuff in AEW because the stuff that she has done in Ring of Honor, like it is like as someone who like I keep up with Ring of Honor, like I'll watch it like in the background I'm doing other stuff, but like the parts that I'm really glued to are when she's on TV because she's really good. Like I think she might be like the most underrated talent from like the past year because she's really carried Ring of Honor like more than Eddie Kingston has, more than any wrestler on that roster has. But I could see it going either way. Like conventional wisdom, of course, tells me that Athena is going to retain.
Yeah,
but I see a scenario where you have Hikaru Shida be like the face of Ring of Honor's women's division or just Ring of Honor in general, and just have her like have dope matches, bring in the Stardom people, and yeah, I'm just whatever the result is, I'm down. I'm just there to see good wrestling.
Yeah. I'm curious about it because I don't like, that's the one thing I have an issue with ROH and AEW. When WWE uses somebody from NXT on the main roster or somebody from the main roster goes to NXT, there's like a flow to like, they're not, I don't know how to explain it necessarily, but there is clearly a difference. And with ROH, sometimes I'm like, okay, well, who's the ROH roster? Who's the AEW roster?
Who's
and then
getting
you got
called
people,
up? Who's getting,
like it's weird. It is weird to me. And it's like, I feel bad because Ethan Page, like he's one of the guys that like I enjoyed watching in ROH, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And now what? Since he did the stuff with the guy from 205 Live, it's gonna kill me. Anthony Nese. That was like the last thing I remember from him.
Yeah.
Tony Nese, yeah. So that's like where I start to realize I'm like, I don't know what they're doing. And that kind of bothers me just a little bit because I'm a fan of certain people, and I love Hikaru Shida and I love Athena. And then it's like, you got Lee Johnson, Shotty Lee, and like he's going for the TV championship, I think, right?
Kyle
so like,
Fletcher,
yeah. So it's like but Kyle Fletcher's also on AEW television. I don't know. I just get kind of confused with it. But I do hope you enjoy it. I will keep you in the loop with all the scoops revolved around SmackDown, and if you subscribe to my channel, I will keep you in the loop. Hey, can we talk about how Lil Wayne made his WWE debut tonight? LOL.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
Weezy like, F, baby, and the F is for phenomenal.
Young Money.
Young Money. They couldn't get Drake, but they got Lil Wayne.
That's okay. Lil Wayne's better.
I agree. You're a good man. No, hold on. Rewind. Scratch. Go back. I saw your tweet. Kendrick over Drake is kind of a hot take, brother.
Yeah, it's a hot take if you're basic and know nothing about rap.
Yeah, but J. Cole is better than Kendrick, and J. Cole is also better than Drake. But the fact that you put Kendrick over Drake is insane.
I stand by what I said. Like
you stand on business.
I stand on business. Drake is an amazing pop star.
Yeah.
He is not a rapper.
So you were kind of vague on that. Is Kendrick just a better rapper? Is it like better for bars or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's funny, Ango. Like sometimes, like Sometimes I think I'm kind of like internally pretentious on purpose, like or subconsciously pretentious. Because like I think a rap the same way I think of wrestling. I'm just like, Bryan Danielson is the greatest wrestler of all time because there's no one better than Bryan Danielson. I don't even need to explain that to you. You already know. Yeah. But, you know, like obviously there's going to be people who are like, but The Undertaker, you know, like, he's just The Rock, you know, and it's like, I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But it's the same for me. It's just like, you know, it's about what happens in between those ropes.
Yeah. I like your wrestling takes more than your rap takes.
Real Take Hip Hop coming to you soon.
Oh God. I can't vouch for that one, guys. I can't vouch for that one. But I think Kendrick is ass. He's booty. All right. Yeah. Lil Wayne is going to be at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So that's the point of why I brought this up. Lil Wayne will be at WrestleMania. Jey Uso. He's just friends with everybody, bro. Last week it was Travis Scott, or was it 2 weeks ago, Travis Scott? Mm-hmm. WWE has plans for a lot of celebrities at WrestleMania 40. I know Lin-Manuel was there tonight as well with the gold championship belt.
Wait, he was?
Yeah. He arrived to Raw. It was posted on social media. You know how last year they started doing this thing where everybody's like losing the title, and Fluffy and all these celebrities got it.
Yeah.
He had it tonight. Lil Wayne will be there. Meek Mill will be there. Should be interesting to see all the celebrities at WrestleMania. This is going to be the most lit WrestleMania in terms of celebrities. Endeavor wants everybody there.
It's only going to get bigger. Like I said this last year, like people like are going to like, people kind of need to like stop viewing WrestleMania as like the place where feuds culminate.
Yeah.
It is just like WrestleMania is kind of weirdly going back to the roots of what it was like the first like 2 years, which is just a pop culture phenomenon.
Yep.
And that's just what it is.
I don't mind it though. To be honest, I kind of like this. I like the vibe. I think it's cool. I'm excited about it. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Omer, what do you think about Parker Boudreaux potentially going to WWE? Do you think WWE brings him back?
I mean, he could end up going back to NXT. I don't know. I like the fact that he was at he was at the CMLL show recently. Like,
was it CMLL or AAA?
Oh, CMLL.
No, it had to be AAA.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure it was AAA because I was looking at it and it was fire. I'm pretty sure it was AAA. Let me double check because I don't want to be.
Let's see. I got you. I will correct myself if that is the case.
Yeah, AAA.
Yeah, it was AAA. Okay, yeah.
That sucks, bro. Dude, he said on Twitter yesterday, he's like, please, I'm with AEW and Lucha Libre AAA. Please stop saying AAA is my only home. I clearly stated in the promo, it is one of my homes. I am still with AEW. And today he got released.
Oof. Yeah. Kid's Got Talent, like he does have something about it. And it's more, I will say this, a lot of it is the Brock Lesnar vibe. But I do think like he does have some sort of presence about him that you can capitalize on. I just don't think that anyone's been able to do it yet. Like the stuff they were making him do with Joe Gacy was crap. I hated that, but
I didn't hate it.
Of course,
but no. So here's bro. I don't really hate much in wrestling.
I know. I'm just.
That's the thing. It's actually.
I'm not an egg on Twitter. You don't need to yell at me.
You are an egg on Twitter. No, you're worse than the egg on Twitter. You're literally a Roman Reigns stan, Liv Morgan stan. What other stans are there? All these accounts with just profile pictures of Liv Morgan or Roman or Randy Orton or something.
It's always like Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss. Yeah. I was just like, oh, okay.
No, I will say though, the only reason why I kind of liked the Harland gimmick was because I was like, I didn't know how you could make a hype beast a character. And I was like, hey, it kind of makes sense. Like he's, like, plus I'm always a big fan of like the spooky characters and like the weird, like psychos and stuff. But it was fun. It was cool when he got to AEW. I was like, oh, this shit's rad. Like even when they were doing the Mogul Embassy thing, like a lot of people hated it. And I always forget the other guy. Unfortunately,
he used to play for like the Arizona Cardinals or something
like that. But I was like, oh, I like this with Swerve. I'm like, oh, this shit's fire. Like, oh, I would literally say that at that time. I'm like, give Swerve the belt. Because I was thinking in my head, I'm like, how can you make Parker Boudreaux a hype beast? That's what he is, bro. Every Instagram photo was him and his expensive his thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just him and the swag that he has and the people he's with, and everybody knows him. And I'm like, yo, like, if you could put this on TV, then do it, you know? Yeah, I think if WWE brings him back, I remember at the time there was something. And I remember, I could be wrong, I can't quote it exactly, but to paraphrase it, Edge wanted Harland or Parker Boudreaux to be part of Judgment Day. And I remember that was somewhat part of the plan. And then there was something that happened that caused him to get released, or
I think that was a round of NXT budget cuts.
Yeah, and there was something that he did or something that happened was like enough for WWE to be like, just pull the plug on it. So it is interesting. I don't know. Maybe WWE does bring him back, but let's keep it moving. Richard says, did you tell Real Take about the tease of Uncle Howdy? No, I didn't. No. Did you see the tease of Uncle Howdy?
Yep.
Did you watch the Bray Wyatt documentary?
Yep. Watched it earlier this morning.
What did you think?
It was an emotional ride. Bray Wyatt was one of my favorite like wrestlers, honestly. Like and it was like a lot of times in spite of like, you know, the character changes that he was kind of like at times forced to do. So yeah, I thought it was a very well done documentary. It was like it's 2 hours long, like all encompassing. As far as like the tease of Uncle Howdy, it's gonna be interesting to see, you know, how they kind of mix in Bo Dallas with all of this, right? Because it's like, do you bring him in like, you know, doing the Uncle Howdy like thing, and then, you know, he's Bo Dallas now again, or do you actually have him the Uncle Howdy? I think either way he's gonna get like a killer reaction because number one, Bo Dallas is great. Number two, obviously, like it's the legacy of Bray Wyatt that he's carrying on. But yeah, man, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great to see like the remnants of you know, the legacy of Bray Wyatt. Because that is just man, that was a tough week. That was a really tough week. It's like a roller coaster of emotion because like we lost Terry Funk, we lost Bray, and then, you know, All In happened like literally like the next day, and it was
sad. That's such a great documentary. But one thing I will say about Uncle Howdy, thankfully we've seen it before. So it's not something where they're like, all right, go out there and do this whole new gimmick. Thankfully, it is something that we've seen on TV. So I think people will have that familiarity with it. I love that teaser at the end. And I swear I love the WWE for doing these little Easter eggs, because now it makes their other content feel important. You already got stuff happening on TV, but like when you do a documentary and you put a little teaser there, it's just a nice little spin. And I feel bad for him too, man. Like Taylor Rotunda, the person, like watching the documentary and seeing what he's saying of his brother, it's like no different than how we would all feel with our siblings or cousins or friends, you know? And I think he's talented enough to do this. And I talked about it in my video today on More Ango. I said, guys, I want to see the Wyatt 6. That way there's less pressure on him by himself. The Wyatt 6 would be such a cool way to get more people on TV, but also people that have a tie to Bray Wyatt. Eric Rowan, Braun Strowman when he's cleared, Alexa Bliss, Joe Gacy, who played Husky the Pig for the return. You know, some people have kind of mentioned like Liv Morgan, maybe. I forgot who it was too. And there was somebody in NXT. And it's going to bother me that I can't think of who it is off the top of my head. But there was a girl in NXT who was part of his original vignettes. I cannot think of it. But they could bring her in. You could bring Dexter Lumis in if you want.
That's a good shout.
You know, he hasn't been doing anything for TV. So it's like, you want to do Wyatt 6. You could kind of do something if you want. It's tough because Bray is not here. That's the only thing that kills me. It's like some of this stuff was his vision. But the good thing for WWE, and the one last thing I will say about this too, in the documentary, the costume designer and Rob Fee, the writer, that worked. They all worked closely together. It was like a super team of people, like writing a horror film. Those guys can. They know what it was like working with Bray. I think they will do a phenomenal job keeping Bray. I think they could. I think they'll keep Bray in a positive light going forward. And that's like, I don't know. Like, does Uncle Howdy, is he the superhuman, supernatural character, or you get Bo Dallas as well without the mask, like you mentioned? Like, kind of like how there was Firefly Funhouse where Bray would wear the red sweater and.
Oh man, that was such a good gimmick. Like I could literally talk for like an hour about Bray Wyatt, but I don't know. Like I could see a Wyatt 6 situation. Like in all seriousness, like I could see that happening.
Could be fun. Yeah. Justin Kennington dropped a $5 super chat. Surprisingly, we didn't talk about this yet. So as the rules of the ladder match mean the belts will be split. They mentioned it on commentary. You have to retrieve both titles.
Yeah. Real quick, I'll just say this. One of the things that when I was younger appreciated about WWE is that they really like hammered down like the rules, like until you were blue in the face. Like they were like, oh, and in the Royal Rumble every 90 seconds someone's gonna come out. Like, I get that. That's great. You want to make sure your audience understands the rules. I thought this was a kind of unnecessary because I thought it could have been cool. Like, just gonna say it would have been cool if like you didn't like explain this rule to begin with, and you had like R-Truth on one side and then like Damian Priest, whoever, on the other side, and they each grab like the pair of title belts like separately, and then like you could do a whole arc leading into the next night of WrestleMania and be like, yeah, okay, we're gonna figure this out tomorrow night, like, and have an answer, and then to the next night just be like, all right, the titles are split. Like that's the compromise that myself, like Adam Pearce came to. Like that could be real. That would have been really cool in my opinion, instead of them just like kind of basically not ruining, like I guess we all guessed it was happening, but like in a way ruining like what we all think was gonna happen.
Yeah. Though, it was so funny. I did I talked about it in my stream last time. I don't know if you were in the chat or like watching or whatever, but there's this content creator, great guy, Joey Carney. But he was like the first person I seen, like immediately when they announced the Undisputed Championship, he put out a tweet where it was like, R-Truth should grab one belt and somebody else grabs the other belt. And like, I wasn't even thinking about that when it first got announced, because this entire time it's like we knew that it was going to split at some point, but how were they going to do it? In my head, though, recently, I kept thinking, I was like, how cool it would be if The Miz is like on the ground and R-Truth grabs the belt from the top. He grabs like the Raw Championship and starts running out of the ring to celebrate. And he's like on the ramp holding it up.
That would be
just the visual of it would be hilarious because they're going to be like, he's got to grab both belts, and then that's how you do the split. And then it actually makes for Miz and R-Truth to drop the belt the next night because now Miz is like pissed off, like there's a lot of cool stuff they could do with it. And just the visual of, I thought it was kind of silly to explain it, but I think they did that to kind of let people know that they're trying to split the belts, which I've been saying forever. They've had the plans to do it forever. Things kind of changed after WrestleMania last year. They were not ready to split the titles last year, but now we're actually seeing some really good stuff on TV. I wouldn't say really, really good stuff, but it's like some pretty good, like getting tag teams back in the mix again, which is what they needed. Yeah, Justin, thank you for the super chat. What did you think of Ricochet versus Ivar? Just random thought, but Ricochet did the fall away slam on Ivar, and I kind of freaked out. I wish I could show this stuff on stream, but
this is why you got to go over to Patreon.
Do the plug, bro. Do the plug.
Patreon.com/real take wrestling. Oh, well, look at that. Already got 8 people signed up. Let's go.
See?
Look at that. We're rolling in money right now. That's why I saw green. But no, but no, in all seriousness, it was a good match. Like, it was cool. Like I said before, I thought the most memorable part happened after the match when Pat McAfee mentioned Prince Puma, which for all you Lucha Underground fans out there, Prince Puma, the dude with the mask, that was Ricochet. Like, he was basically the star of the show. But yeah, it did a good job of setting up Ricochet as a major contender for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
That's going to be hard to pick the winner of, by the way, which is taking place on SmackDown.
I like that, though. I like that it's taking place on SmackDown.
You do?
Yeah. I just,
why not? That's actually an unpopular opinion these days.
There are going to be 12 matches at WrestleMania. Like, we need to condense down these cards because, like, there's a lot of spectacle in WWE. You know, it's slower. It's a slower style. Like, let's just. I think it's fine to spread these things out over WrestleMania weekend because it's still part of WrestleMania weekend. You know, like it's they branded as WrestleMania SmackDown. It's still kind of WrestleMania. Like, it's not, fine.
But
okay, come on. It's like, okay, look. To me, this is at least the equivalent of having it on the pre-show, which it was for like every year, but the first year they had it. Yeah. Where that was wild. That was when they had it go on, like, I think, like, right after Taker. Lost his streak, and it was just like, oof. Like, no one wants to watch this right now. Anyway, but
just throw it on the pre-show, man. It's not hard. It what it is.
Pre-show SmackDown, WrestleMania SmackDown is the pre-show.
I don't know who said it. Somebody said it. Can't remember. Sorry, but somebody said next year they need to do a reset on the battle royals. Make them mean something again. Do something with them or change it up because Andre the Giant battle royals never mean anything, and it's unfortunate.
Give him a U.S. title shot.
That's what I said. Like, mid-card title, have somebody debut, win the battle royal, or somebody like an emerging star,
or make it like an NXT thing and give him like an NXT title match.
I got a better idea. You know what they should do? And they should do it at WrestleMania. Take a whole bunch of people from NXT, put them in a battle royal, and winner gets a main roster contract. Their first experience of WrestleMania is in front of 50,000 fans, and winner gets a contract to Raw or SmackDown.
It would mean a lot more if people just didn't like get called up and like defect to Raw.
Okay, that is true. That is true. So how about this? It's any person from NXT gets a contract and a guaranteed title shot. Like, just like how there's a breakout tournament for NXT for all the newcomers, they should do that for the main roster at WrestleMania. You get a contract for a US or IC title, but it has to be NXT people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Just spitballing.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like it's got to be for like a title or something. Like, that's just, yeah.
Interesting. My bad. I was getting distracted in the chat. It's people just spamming the chat because
is it active? They getting active in there?
So the thing is, it's active, and I have two feeds up. So I have my Twitter feed, like the Twitter chat, because I'm also simulcasting. We're tri-casting technically on X, and we actually have more viewers on X than YouTube, which is interesting because it's 1 a.m. But on X, I have that chat. I have that chat pulled up, and then I have the YouTube chat. So people are like, "Oh, well, you're not answering my questions." Well, everybody knows the rules to the live streams. But I think one thing for me is, like, if you're spamming the chat, now I automatically have an issue because you're ruining other people's experience. And now I can't read people's questions. Only other thing I was going to mention really that I wanted to talk about. Do you think Prince Puma is coming back, or do you think Ricochet just stays as Ricochet? They're starting to put some stock behind him. But I don't know. Do you think maybe they put him in a mask and try to build a character, or just let him do his thing?
I could see them putting him in a mask, but I don't think Prince Puma is coming back. Like, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Ricochet is a very interesting one. Because I was really excited when he first came to WWE. And needless to say, I've been like really underwhelmed with like his booking in WWE. It's just like, and I'm not like, I'm not saying that this dude should have been like booked to win the world title, like, or anything like that, right? But I'm like, it just feels like, man, he is like, he's just there. Like, there really is no character. There is no like development. It's like, it's a lot like Apollo Crews. The first like few years he was on the main roster, he just got called up because like, yeah, okay, Apollo Crews, he can wrestle. And he wrestled, and it was okay. Like, but it's just, I'm biased. I really just want to see him. Like, you know what I really want to see? Like, again, not to make this an AEW thing, I want to see Ricochet versus Will Ospreay again. Like, I want to see this version of Will Ospreay versus this version of Ricochet. That thing was slap. Match was slap.
The thing though that I'm starting to see though in WWE right now. Yeah. Is that this mid card is really being given the chance to like go out there and shine. I have to give them credit because it's not something if we go back even 2 years ago, it would be one of my complaints. It's like, unless it's a world championship feud, like nothing I really care about, right? Ricochet, Ivar, Bronson Reed, Chad Gable, Sami Zayn, like all these guys that could be going for the IC title. I like the fact that right now they're just kind of still letting them go out there and just do their thing. And you could tell the crowd response is incredible. When I saw Ricochet do the fall away slam in the 630 on Ivar, I was like, I hate to say this. Vince McMahon kind of pre-programmed this into all of us, but it's like the wrestling trope of like, oh, the bigger guy is obviously going to beat the smaller guy, So we got to get used to the fact that Ricochet is smaller than some of these guys, and he's doing some really impressive stuff, superhuman stuff. And, these last few weeks have been really good for him momentum-wise. So I'm curious, like Triple H obviously has his NXT kids, and it's no shocker that they're all given something to do these days, and they're all doing pretty well with it. I would love to see Ricochet and Will Ospreay happen, not in AEW, though. I'm sorry. I've seen too many good matches in AEW. If I want something that's great for the industry, it's like it should happen in TNA or WWE, and that's not going to happen. I don't think Ricochet leaves WWE, and I don't think Will Ospreay leaves AEW after just signing there. So
look, I'm not saying that this is going to be good for the industry, but it will be good for me.
Yeah. Well, that's selfish. That is so selfish of you.
Yes. Look. Oh my God, a wrestling fan being selfish. Could you imagine?
Not allowed, dude. Not allowed. Yeah, that's funny.
Come to St. Louis for AEW Dynasty. We're gonna have a great time.
Here's the thing. I would actually be happy to do that. I do want to travel more for events. That is a possibility. Let's take a look at it. We'll talk about it. And listen, I spent more. I spent more money on AEW events in the last 5 years than WWE events. I did. I did. Because I that's how much I believed in it. I went to I was invited by an individual at AEW. I won't say names, but he's a legend in the business. Former WWE star, current AEW star. He is just fantastic, and he got me to AEW in Detroit. That was the first show that was comped. And I told the story before, but I was basically just stating like sitting in the hard cam side. And I remember people were posting pictures of the arena. And this was the episode where Don Callis turned on Kenny in the steel cage.
Oh, okay.
And people are tweeting about the attendance. And I remember as I was watching this in attendance, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, people are tweeting about this dumb shit. And I'm watching the show and I'm like, this is amazing. Obviously, it's amazing. The atmosphere of those shows are incredible. If you're ever like sad and down, go to an AEW show. That's how I looked at it, bro. I'm like, go to an AEW show. If you love wrestling, like the atmosphere is insane. Forget about storylines. Forget about this. Forget about that. Like the atmosphere, it's just people love it and it's fun. I'd be down to go to AEW Dynasty. I also want to go to SummerSlam this year.
I'll be there.
SummerSlam?
Yeah, it's in Cleveland. I got love it. I have.
You live in Maryland or no? Baltimore?
Yeah, I'm from Maryland. So like
you travel everywhere, bro.
Well, it's an excuse for me to leave my house. So I also like look, I like wrestling. That's my thing. I plan my vacations around wrestling. Like in August, I'm also going to England. One of those days I'm going to be there for Wembley, but then like the rest of the week, I'm going to be chilling in England because seeing the country.
Bruv, no way. I'm
Damn
actually
right.
thinking about going to All In this year.
That's definitely one. Like, yeah, I really wish I was able to go last year. Like, but yeah, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna see Will Ospreay's crowning moment. Hopefully, it's gonna be cool.
I like it. Yeah. Cedric is a mod on my channel, but I do want to bring this up because you brought up the Ricochet and Will Ospreay thing, and I am curious about this because he is somebody who I think has. If he left WWE and went to AEW, I wouldn't be mad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's doing some cool stuff in WWE. I don't necessarily think he's going to leave WWE, but his contract does end later this year. He says, what do you think happens next for Finn Balor? Honestly, want him to win the title off of Damian Priest. It's a story there. And so I have to wonder if maybe Drew McIntyre doesn't get the job done. Damian Priest ends up cashing in successfully, and then that causes Finn to go after Damian Priest. Now, me personally, just want to get this out of the way, and then I'll let you respond. Ever since the Universal title thing with Finn Balor, I always wanted him to get the world title at least once. This would be the most logical story to execute. Him and Damian Priest have been chirping at each other. They've been having their issues for over a year now since they've come together, and but then they get back on track, you know? It makes sense if Damian Priest were to be turned on by Finn Balor. It just makes sense. There is a story there. But I do want to ask you, do you think we get to that point, or do you think Finn Balor leaves?
I mean, look, I can't speak for Finn Balor. I don't know what's going through his head, but I think that, you know, just like anyone, right, that Finn is going to be one of those guys where I think he's going to have a decision to make. Like Sheamus is another one of those guys, and if rumors are to be believed, like he's kind of already made that decision. But I think that Finn is actually like in that Dolph Ziggler position, unfortunately, of like people like everyone wants him to be that world champion guy. Everyone wants him, but it's just been they just waited too long. It's been 8 years. Yeah. 8 years since that since he was the inaugural Universal title holder. Like, and that version, we will never, WWE could book this man to be undefeated for 3 years. We will never get to the vibe that Finn Balor was like that first month on the main roster, because he wasn't just booked to be, you know, like, oh my God, like this next generation of star. Like, it wasn't just that, bro. It was like, this was the guy. Like, it was insane. I've never seen, and I've never been more excited. That's why 2016 was like one of my favorite years in wrestling. I was like, they're doing a lot of the cool stuff, new people. Like, it was awesome. And then, like, he gets injured, and you're like, okay, well, it sucks, horrible. He comes back. And we just never got back to it. There was a minute there when he was going up against Roman where no one seriously thought he was going to win the title. But like, the story was cool because he was talking about it. He was like, I won that belt before you did. He like saying it all. And then he's just been talking. He's just been doing a lot of talking. And I think he's kind of like, unfortunately, relegated to like that upper mid card in WWE. And, you know, I mean, I think he's someone who could definitely be in the title picture, whether it's in AEW, whether it's going back to New Japan. Like, there are doors open for him that I think, you know, could be very lucrative, because like he was making good money in New Japan, and like he had that Versace. What was it? Not a Versace, that Armani deal.
Here's the thing though. No, I don't
go for it.
I could see AEW being a thing for sure. Obviously, it makes sense. Kenny Omega's there, you know, like that makes sense to me. But I just feel like right now, like he's safe in WWE. Like leadership likes him. It's not Vince. Vince was making him the next Jeff Hardy, where you got to like start jobbing out. You're the veteran jobber, and then literally Triple H takes over, and that's done with. Right? Thank God, because that Finn Balor is way better than that.
Yeah.
So like the thing is like AEW could make sense, but the thing about Finn Balor, I just feel like it's safe. Like you don't really have to leave. I'm sure he could re-sign with WWE and keep doing his thing.
For sure.
I don't know if I don't want to make it look like he even has issues with WWE, but I could see him going to AEW because out of all the doors that are open from a creative standpoint, a lot of cool feuds and matches he could have in AEW. New Japan is kind of losing its momentum right now. And with Tanahashi taking over and they've made a lot of changes in New Japan, I don't know if WWE stars would necessarily want to jump over long term. I think there's like a little bit of instability, I should say, for New Japan. So I don't know. It's just something I kind of want to point out. Zachary dropped a super chat for $1.99. He says, I'd like to see Mike Bailey versus Ricochet with Slap. Do you watch TNA?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you, with like your knowledge with TNA, would you say you watch it like pretty often?
So what I do with TNA and kind of ROH too, I will watch those shows like in batches. So like it's like every like 2 or 3 weeks I'll like catch up on them.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Bailey to me is like, you know how you were saying like Bryan Danielson's like the best wrestler ever?
Yeah.
So when I look at Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, what really makes me like this guy so much is his character work. It's actually really phenomenal. So characters for me are the big thing, and then the wrestling. Bryan does it so incredibly well on both ends of the spectrum where like I don't really have a best wrestler in the world or favorite wrestler in the world, but he's up there on that list. Like I look at him very highly. Speedball is like, in terms of physical in-ring action, I don't know what it is about this guy. It doesn't matter who he's wrestling. He somehow does something to impress the living shit out of me.
Yep.
He doesn't really have the character stuff going, but that's okay. He's got Speedball Mountain. I like it. It works for me, right? But like I see what he does in TNA. I'm thinking a lot of people don't know this either. Speedball was rumored to come to WWE NXT years and years ago. I think in 2014, 2015, when Kevin Owens and Finn Balor and Kenta and all of them came, Speedball was rumored to come, but there was some sort of travel ban or some sort of ban that he had in the US. So he wasn't able to come to NXT. But I always used to say at that time in NXT, I was like, Mike Bailey, you know, you see some stuff from PWG or from the Indies, whatever. He was incredible then. Now it's 2024 and he's even more incredible. So not only is Zach right in the fact that this match would slap, but imagine if we got Will Ospreay, Mike Bailey. This is actually crazy if you think about it. Imagine you get Mike Bailey, Ricochet, Will Ospreay. I don't know. You could throw in like 3 other people. Put in Dragon Lee if you want to mix it up a little bit. Put in some of these guys in like an Ultimate X match, and it would be bananas. Like this would be like the greatest like in-ring spectacle for like a, you know, just for these high flyers and stuff. Mike Bailey and Ricochet would be incredible. And the fact that he's in TNA right now, like I like it. I always do wonder though if WWE or AEW would pick him up.
One of them will eventually. He's just too good.
So good.
Best. The best indie match I've ever seen, like in person, was Mike Bailey versus Smiley Kylie Ray, like in an intergender match, and it was insane. Like, go check it out. I think it's like it's from like a, I think it was it. I guess it was like Black Label Pro.
I think so.
Yeah. From 2022. It was right before All In or All Out.
I feel like it was like one of those weekends for Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, it was in Chicago. It was right before.
Yeah.
Moxley showed up on that show too.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. That was and then Brawl Out happened. It always comes back to CM Punk with wrestling. Always. Yeah.
Hey, you know, it is pretty impressive though. Punk remains relevant at a time where he's injured.
He's always got something to say. Like
It's always Punk. People would get pissed at me. They're like, because I'd make a video on CM Punk possibly coming back to wrestling. Then, I was actually at AEW or Starcast before Punk showed up, and it was like he's doing the thing and he's talking about how he wouldn't show up, and we're all at All Out 2019, I think it was, and people are like, "Oh, yeah, Punk's coming." And I'm like, "No, he's not. He said he wasn't. I trust him." And he didn't show up, And then obviously a little bit later, he does the Rampage episode and he comes back. And even before that, though, you're making videos of like Punk might be returning. Oh, they might do a special episode. And then it's like, okay, Punk joins AEW. Now we're talking more about Punk in these storylines. Next thing you know, Punk gets in a alleged fight. Now we're talking about the drama. Oh, Punk does the media scrum. Drama. Now there's this. Then Punk's leaving AEW. Oh, Punk is going to the Royal Rumble. Like Punk is Punk. And the guy is always relevant. So it is funny. But at the same time, too, he is a draw. He is a draw in the business of professional wrestling, and it's crazy.
Think about it like this. He's the most talked about wrestler like for like basically the past decade.
Yeah.
And like I promise you, like if you look at anyone else's like wrestling to like popularity ratio, like matches to popularity ratio, it's like not even close. It's like Punk at the very top. Like people just they love what he has to say. Like in my opinion, like even like say what you want about the brawl out thing, it is one of the most captivating pieces of pro wrestling content of all time.
Yeah.
Because if you were watching that live, your eyes were glued because you were like, oh my God, did he really say that? Oh, he's saying more. That's crazy. And it was similar, very similar vibe in this interview because you're just like, he's okay. Oh, he's going there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Shout out to Punk, man. Keeping us all in business.
Yeah, right. I love it. I love it. I wanted to read this question. It popped up a couple times in the chat, which I appreciate. And I asked this to you just because we did see the AEW releases and we see the stuff happening with Legado del Fantasma, LWO. We did mention earlier for those who missed it, but the AEW people that were released today do not have a non-compete clause. They're free agents they could sign. Andy says, if Jose, the manager, came to WWE, what would you do with him? Maybe manage a heel Carlito, build a Latino group if Carlito turns on Ray. And I just kind of want to get this question out of the way. It got brought up a couple times. We see these people that got released. We see WWE's programming. We're going into WrestleMania. I'm going to go off the rip and say Jose and Carlito, no. But obviously, Andrade. My whole prediction really up until today was that Zelina finds her way back to Andrade. I think that happens.
Yeah.
But then I do wonder if maybe because Dragon Lee's real brother is Roosh, right? There is that history, obviously, in AEW with Dragon Lee as well. Like maybe Dragon Lee, and I like him a lot, but maybe it would be kind of cool for Dragon Lee after this whole Rey Mysterio story, whatever. Maybe Dragon Lee gets some representation and Jose is his guy. I don't know. But I just kind of want to hear from you. I kept seeing this question pop up, and other people have wondered about it. So would love to hear your opinion.
I think Dragon Lee would probably be one of the guys. Like, I go see Legado del Fantasma being repped by Jose. Andrade and Zelina is like they need to be back together. Like it was just money. So yeah, I think that's fine. I always liked Jose the assistant. More so as a meme because like it was just like it was so funny like when he would just like come out like holding his little iPad like I'm like what is like why does Roosh need an assistant? Like I never understood that.
Yeah.
But you know what the saddest part? Like I mean obviously like he lost his job and that's very unfortunate. But like the from a wrestling standpoint, you know what the saddest part about like him is like I really wanted to see what happened with like LFI coming back, like after the Roosh like forced the Mexican drug cartel to like torture them.
Yeah,
days on it.
Did they ever follow up with that? Because I don't remember them following up with it.
Nope. Thunder Rosa did this once, and
I know.
Yeah, so
I thought that was cool that she did that on Collision, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like,
LFI with Thunder Rosa could be fun. And when I see a release like that, that's where I do get a little bit bummed out because I'm like, well, Jose the assistant, like he could take bumps if he needs to, but it's just presentation of a group.
Yep.
Bloodline have the Wiseman, the Judgment Day have JD McDonough, Legado del Fantasma has Zelina, you know, or I'm sorry, Elektra Lopez, LWO has Zelina. Yeah, I just found that to be interesting. Thank you, Andy, by the way, for the question. FBI is coming back to TNA. I just seen that by Jason.
Wait, what?
Yeah, FBI. Remember Full-Blooded Italian?
No, Nunzio. My boy Nunzio's back?
Yeah, he's coming back. Jason wanted to know. He's like, how do you feel about FBI coming back to TNA? I knew about it because of the tapings in Philly. But yeah,
shout out
pretty
to
cool.
little Guido Nunzio.
It's so funny. TNA be bringing back some people. I'm like, what the fuck? They're still around. They're still wrestling. And next thing you know, it's just one of those things. It's funny. It's like they don't really have relevance in 2024, but TNA is gonna make them relevant again. So
shout out to them.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, we've been doing this for 2.5 hours. It's 1:34 in the morning. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything you got on your mind? Anything, you know?
AEW Dynasty better than WrestleMania.
Oh, that's crazy.
Go off, chat.
Chat, what do you guys think of that? You think AEW Dynasty will be better than WrestleMania? I mean, he's only saying this because it's Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson, but also at the same time too, you know, it's funny because people in the chat were saying they're like, "Oh, he's cooking. Like, oh, he's good. You guys' chemistry is great. We like this." But now you just said that, and people are like, "Oh,
this is what I do,
Angle, don't invite him back. Don't invite him back." And I'm like, I can't. What do I say?
This is what I do. This is what I do. I build up goodwill, and then I break it back down. It's called manipulating your audience. No, but
that's crazy.
No. I mean, I will say this for me. I do. Okay. In all seriousness, I personally, this is not saying it's a better show, whatever. Personally, I am way more excited about Dynasty than I am Mania, and I'm going to both. And I'm spending a lot more money going to Mania. I'll have you know, because
how much? Let me see the stubs. Let me see the receipts. I don't believe you. I think you're a liar. You're a tribalist. You're anti-WWE.
You when that vlog comes out, Angle, you'll get a good estimate of how much I spent on that show. No, like my thing is like I've told you before, Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay was like an insane dream match that I did not think would happen. Because I was like, man, Bryan's probably gonna be hurt. He's retiring. Will Ospreay even come? Like, what's going on? But no, like that is like it is an ultimate dream match of mine. And yeah, I think Bryan Danielson is the greatest wrestler of all time. And I get to watch him wrestle probably the best wrestler in the world right now in Will Ospreay. So that's got me hyped. I'm also really happy to see Swerve probably win the belt.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big moment. Mercedes, her first match in AEW, probably. Like that's good. It's gonna be a good show.
The thing for me that I've really learned is they're just two different products. Yep. So I don't think like WrestleMania for me I'm more excited about, but that's just because I feel like I'm following the storyline so closely to the point where it's like, man, like these have been hooked in for some of these stories have been for over a year. And some of this stuff is just like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
But there's connections with a lot of stories for WrestleMania that make me excited about it. The only thing about Dynasty that really bothers me is there's not as much that we still have time, obviously.
Yeah.
We do. We have 19 days left. There's not as much going into it that I genuinely care about. I care about the Swerve thing. Why? First of all, it's been the best world title feud since Punk and MJF, maybe.
That wasn't for the title.
Was it Revolution?
No, that was a singles match.
I'm sorry, it was Punk and Moxley, and then Punk got hurt. Then that led to
All Out. If you ask Punk,
yeah,
that feud sucked.
Yeah, see, here's the thing though. I like Punk and Moxley.
It's gonna be really funny to see Punk in a Rocky Rocky promo packages that open up Mania. It's like, oh, he finally watched it.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was a meme for a long time. But yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest. I didn't really care for MJF's title reign, but I love what they've done with Samoa Joe and Swerve and Hangman, and like that's been really good. So I've enjoyed that. I'm excited about that. I think Swerve finally wins it. But I want them to do what's right too, not just doing it for the sake of good PR. I want them to do it because the storylines that they've been doing with him and Hangman and Samoa Joe, and like they had the triple threat match. Now he's getting the one-on-one. Now I want them to book him even better after the world title win, right? So I am excited about that match. I'm obviously excited about Bryan and Will Ospreay, which, by the way, that's a main event caliber match. Believe it or not, I'm actually just not for the storytelling portion. I just like these guys in general. But House of Black versus Edge, well, Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe. Like the storyline to it really kind of been ass. It's just kind of thrown together. But I like all these guys. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that is honestly one thing I was not a fan of. I was like, just do the tag team match with like Buddy and Brody, and then have Malakai go for the TNT belt. This man has not like.
He's gone, bro. He ain't staying in that company.
It's like he's cooked in AEW. He needs to leave. Like, because I'm just there has not been like AEW has like missed on people. Like in WWE has obviously missed on people, but like there's not been a guy whose like momentum has been wasted like Malakai Black's. It's like insane. This dude came in with so much fervor. Like when that first feud with Cody, I was like, he's a made guy, and he has like no follow up.
And in a company where you value those like indie wrestlers, do we have to remind people who the fuck Tommy End was? Like, do we have to? I feel like I have to like point that out because I genuinely thought, I'm like, wow, like even I really didn't think Malakai Black in WWE was that bad. In NXT, perfection. Main roster, just inconsistent. Not bad, but inconsistent as right.
Yeah.
Then it got really, really bad during. Was it during COVID?
Yep. When they took his eye out.
Yeah, it was like that thing. Like that was like, okay, what the fuck, right? But I bring that up because I'm like, when he goes to AEW, I'm like, maybe it makes more sense. Like he has that indie background that AEW looks for. Like, yeah, I could see it working. And then the Cody feud happens, and you're like, oh, this guy's incredible. And then nothing.
6-man match after 6-man match after 6-man match. That's
he went like 900 days without a singles match. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like the streak that he had for that was insane. So, but for me, I'm happy that he's at least on the card because I like these guys. Like I like Mark Briscoe. There's a lot of people who look at Mark Briscoe and they don't take him serious. They don't like him, but I like him, bro. I liked the Briscoes before, and I like the Briscoes even now. Like Mark Briscoe involved with Adam Copeland and Eddie Kingston's. Like these three guys should not be tag teaming at all. And I understand why people don't like it. But for me, it's like, hey, I like these individuals, so I don't care. It's not the greatest build. I've admitted that. I think it's a weird build, actually. But I like these guys. So I'm going to be excited for that match. Just like I'm very excited. I was very excited about Toni Storm versus Deonna Purrazzo. The build was okay, but I like Deonna Purrazzo and I like Toni Storm. I had personal interactions with Deonna Purrazzo before, made me even a bigger fan of her. Seeing the way she carried herself outside of the ring, So, like, there's certain things that like I get excited about. But with WrestleMania, I really do enjoy the storylines going into the show. Yeah. I really do. Like, I know you said like the Karrion Kross thing isn't your thing, but I'm a huge fan of Karrion Kross and I love that storyline. I feel like it's been really good, keeping everybody look strong and stuff. So like I am more excited for WrestleMania because of the storylines, but in terms of like they're like that's the thing that people get twisted. What I'm watching for is storylines and stuff, right? And then good matches. WrestleMania is going to make me feel good about the build because of the storylines in play. AEW Dynasty is going to make me more excited about some of the storylines, but then also just some of the other people that are on the card in general. I enjoy watching their content. Make sense? I don't feel ripped off for spending $50 because their pay-per-views deliver. Now, I will tell you, if they don't put the world title on Swerve, what's the point of me watching?
Yeah,
because I'm getting tired of that with AEW. Just like I'm getting tired with Roman Reigns. Like, at some point, you got to drop the belt, right? You got to drop the belt. And it's like, well, I want Cody to win the belt. And if you keep slapping me in the face and not give me Cody, then I'm going to get pissed, right? I'm not going to enjoy it. With AEW, since the very beginning, since he signed to the company, I said Swerve should be world champion. I even said they should hotshot him into the company. I got in trouble. I got heat for saying that him and Keith Lee should both be world champions immediately, and they shouldn't be doing this bullshit as a tag team. And sure enough, they do Swerve in our glory. We never got the payoff. Angle was fucking right yet again. And sure enough, now Swerve is being world champion. I'm like, yeah, they should have done it. I like it, but they should have done it a long time ago. But of course I'm excited about it. Why? Because I said that when he first came in, he should be a world champion. So it's not really shocking to hear me talk about it now, being excited for it. That in itself is worth the money. Swerve and Samoa Joe will be fun. And if you deliver the championship to him, that's going to be crazy.
It's going to be a hell of a night in St. Louis.
It's been a hell of a night tonight.
I know. 3 hours? Oh, okay. 2:45 almost.
Not bad, but the thing is, Raw ends so late.
I hate that. I'm an old ass man now. Bro, I gotta start Raw at 6:30. You know, let's start Raw at 6:30. You'll give me 3 hours. I'm in bed by 10.
Yeah,
10:30.
Did you see how I got heat for saying wrestling pay-per-views should be on Sunday nights?
You said that?
Yeah, I tweeted out. It went pretty viral actually.
Yeah, I disrespectfully disagree with that one.
But dude, here's the thing, right? People don't understand this, but I will say this. If I'm watching a pay-per-view and it's 3-4 hours long, and it's different because YouTube is my full-time job, right? Doing all this content stuff. But like Saturday night, I could go out, I could watch UFC, I could watch pro boxing, I could watch college football when college football. Like, there's things I could do. Like, sometimes I'll go to a bonfire, right? We'll smoke cigars, have a drink, watch sports outside, right, with my friends. But if a wrestling pay-per-view is on Saturday, I now can't do that. So I have to miss a college football game or a sports game or a playoff game or whatever, right? With pay-per-views on Sunday nights, I feel like Sundays are so peaceful for me. So Sunday night, 7 o'clock, 4 hours long, cool. And then I wake up early the next day, go to the gym, come back, make a couple of videos, do my thing. Like, I like that so much more. And for some reason, me just sharing my own experience about this got so much hate on Twitter. And I'm like, bro, you have no idea why it's good for me and why it's bad for you, but we're selfish, right? We're selfish.
How dare you enjoy your life, Ango? How dare you piece of crap? I will say this. I think the sweet spot really is what we did for All In. I was like, can we do that for every pay-per-view? Because I'm like, yo, Sundays at noon is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm done watching the pay-per-view. You gotta watch a 5-hour pay-per-view AEW, doing 18 matches. Let's go. I'll watch that job until 5 p.m. It's still sunlight outside. I can do a post show, do my little thing, and then I got the rest of the night to myself. That's beautiful, in my opinion. Do that, honestly.
What do we know for sure if All In this year is on the Sunday? Same thing, Sunday, 2 p.m.
Sunday, 25th. Yep.
See, I like this. I didn't like when WWE was in Australia. I was really cooked.
Yeah, that was not great.
I was donezo. I couldn't do my live stream. I was just screwed. But when WWE goes to Saudi Arabia or Clash at the Castle, UK, whenever the shows are 2 p.m. Saturday or Sunday, I like that. So if that's how it is every year for All In, would be badass. And honestly, they should just start doing 2 p.m. They should just do their pay-per-views during the day, bro, with all these companies.
Please. I get it during the NFL season. Okay, don't do it. That's fine. But yo, come on. There's no reason. There is no reason that Dynasty can't be on at noon.
Yeah.
Or
no, that's facts.
Come on.
That's facts. Hey, I got nothing else. We've definitely gone long. But that's what makes it fun. I personally enjoy conversing with you about wrestling, and It's always good to talk with you. But if you have anything you want to shout out, anything else you want to talk about, let me know. I'll cut up on super chats, so that is good. Yeah, anything you want to say?
Yeah, no, the only thing I'll say, guys, go over to youtube.com/Real Take Wrestling. Subscribe for not only daily news videos, but also stuff like me breaking down CM Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani, all the tidbits there. I talk about kind of like the history of like things that have been reported in the past about what Punk talked about and like that. So go check that out. Yeah, just subscribe, and it's all there. It's all there. YouTube.com/Real Take Wrestling.
Guys, don't forget to actually subscribe. One of the things that I like about WrestleMania week is sometimes you never know who's going to stop by. And I definitely love having conversations with other creators. But one thing that I do appreciate out of you is that me and you don't always agree. And that is something I personally like. I think a lot of times people just try to have the opinion that is popular instead of having their own opinion. For me, we all know this. It's well documented. I'm very firm on my opinion. I don't really change my mind often because at the end of the day, it's like we're content creators, And I think for me, like I create the content that I like to talk about, the stuff I like to talk about. In my opinion, stay firm on that. And what I like about you is I feel like we'll talk about stuff. And like you brought up the RVD thing with like the Hall of Fame. Like we have that interest, right? And we have that similarity. I like that. But then we could also talk about, something else and be disagreeing. And like it doesn't make me hate you just because me and you disagree with something. But there's something you say I like. You see what I'm saying? Like we're two normal people that like wrestling, and I like that.
Get the censor button ready.
Oh, hold on.
Oh.
Okay, I'll try my best. We're not on an 8-second delay, but go ahead.
Second word. It's fucking wrestling.
Okay, I pressed it a couple times. You're gonna have to repeat yourself.
It's freaking wrestling. Like okay.
Hold on. When I see your lips move, I just press it. We good?
If Tony Khan did this in the media scrum, Punk would still be in AEW. No, but it's wrestling. Like it's all in good fun, man. Like neither one of us watches this so we can like complain about it on Twitter. We watch it because we like wrestling. That's it.
Yeah. I always say, I'm like, I don't really need Twitter. I don't really like, I've met a lot of cool people on Twitter and stuff like that. But the number one thing I care about the most is honestly my Discord, because that's where like we have great conversations and stuff. But also like just the kind of community I've built on there has been awesome. Twitter and social media and YouTube and Instagram. Like obviously I make content, but I see people. The number one thing I say that's become annoying with content in general, and it happens the more and more that I grow, but it's like, don't write something in my comment section or don't tweet me with something I didn't say and then act like I said that. That's just blatantly wrong. Like that to me is an issue. Like that's how I look at it. Don't tell me I said something. Don't act like I had an opinion based on your own lack of brain cells. If you think I said something, show me, clip it. Like if I said AEW sucks, clip it. Show me. I did say it sucks. I also say WWE sucks. But like, show me the clip. Like, you got to have a good argument with that type of stuff. But the thing I like about you though is we could have these conversations because we're normal, and it's like we don't have to agree. We don't have to see eye to eye with everything. We could just have these conversations. And at the end of the day, who cares? Very fun. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to Omer at Real Take Wrestling. Also, don't forget to check out his new Patreon. That is going to be splendid. That's the cool stuff. That's definitely the cool stuff, especially he's got some other stuff cooking. At this point, he's been on this expansion, growing and growing and growing. He's cooking and creativity flowing. I like it. A lot of great things to come. I feel like I want to see more voices. I will leave this as we go into WrestleMania week. It's going to be a crazy week. But I want more voices in pro wrestling because I think the best thing is having different opinions and like civil conversations. Some content creators are willing to have civil conversations and other content creators are not. But I think the best conversations are the ones where you're just talking. That's it. You don't got to get loud and yell at each other and stuff like that. And so when I see a content creator like this, great content, great opinions. Maybe I disagree with his opinions, but great opinions. The only thing he really said that was trash today was the Kendrick thing. But Kendrick Lamar is not better than Drake. I'm sorry, bud. Drake's ghostwriter is way better than Kendrick Lamar, and you just need to know that. But ladies and gentlemen, that concludes night 1 of WrestleMania week. Holy shoot. Crazy. It's here. It's happening. I for sure will be live tomorrow for NXT. I don't know what you got planned. If you don't got nothing planned or you want to stream again, you let me know. The channel, you're always welcome back.
Appreciate it. I'm going to be doing a podcast tomorrow night, probably 8 p.m. during NXT because I never watch NXT live. So y'all can check me out talking about all the wacky news in wrestling this week. And then you can check out Ango for NXT Roundup.
Yeah, hell yeah. Woo. All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by. Everybody who dropped a super chat, subscribed. Everybody who didn't subscribe to Real Take Wrestling, you should do that.
Hey, subscribe to Ango too. My man's trying to hit that 100K. We're trying to get yourself a damn belt. You want to win a belt? You want to win? Yeah, y'all want a chance to win this prestigious, beautiful WWE World's Heavyweight Championship belt? Just like me, I'm entered in this. Y'all know what to do. He's got to click one button, and you're in there. Why wouldn't you do it?
I'm so glad you said that. Hold on.
Pull up the graphic. Let's go.
Where is it? I have it somewhere. Nope, it's not that one. There it is. Yeah, win a WWE World Title replica from WWE Shop. I had somebody complain about this. They're like, oh, it's been forever.
For free.
They're like, oh, you've been promoting this since January. And I'm like, I don't know how long I've been promoting it for, but I gain a couple thousand subscribers every month. I don't have to give away the title. What a lot of people don't know is when I hit 100K, I'm doing a live stream, right? Just like any other normal live stream. The only difference is I have a whole bunch of sponsors who are sponsoring my channel that I've been working with behind the scenes that are either donating money, gift cards, or physical products. So when I hit 100,000 subscribers, my 100K celebration will be me doing the giveaway for the world title belt. But also, every person that's in the chat, they're all eligible for gift cards, prizes, things like that. These are some like really major companies too. So there's a couple $1,000s worth of prizes. And I saw somebody, they're like, oh, well, like, I'm never going to win anyway. So who gives a shit? Like, fuck your contest. And I'm just sitting here like, I literally respond, I'm like, do you not want me to do it? Just let me know. It saves me money. It saves me money. You let me know. If you don't want me to do it, let me know. It saves me money.
Damn well, I'm going to be in that chat so I can win a potentially a Bugatti. So,
all right, that's a little too far.
But I said potentially. We didn't promise nothing.
I like it. Ladies and gentlemen, night 1 officially concluded. Almost 3 hours long. Pretty insane. Again, check out Real Take Wrestling. And if you're not subscribed to me, yeah, you could win a title belt and so much more. With that being said,